everybody. This is Julie Kerr. I'm writer and director of the indie nerdy comedy Geek Loves Punk. So, last week's video was, sad. This week's video is going to be sad. There's just things I wanted to say before I move on to, more positive stuff. But even in this video and last week's video, I still want to give out a positive message. So what I want to say is, for this video, I had to deal with, I was a receptionist. I had to work at a chiropractic clinic. I had to work with a chiropractor who I feel like his behavior was creepy, so I'm going to be talking about that. That's what this is called. But so I want to give y'all tips while I do this. I might use curse words, so just letting y'all know. Okay. Viewer discretion is advised. And I'm still going to give y'all like 3 tips, because the reason I want to make this video is it's the same deal. It's like, you'll see, how there's Coca-Cola, the soda, and there's like Diet Coke. I feel like, if you have to rate weird behavior, it was mild weird behavior that I had to deal with the chiropractor. But the reason I want to make this video is, like, regrettably or unfortunately, if something like worse happened to you, or even if you're just not sure, if you're not sure about what to do, if you think you're at work and you dealt with some sort of harassment, if that's what you believe happened, and I'm not gaslighting, like, you know what I mean? But if you're just not sure, if something creepy happened at work, and you're not sure what to call it, or if it's harassment or what, the first thing I want to say is call a lawyer. That's the biggest thing I want you to do. What the positive thing I learned from this experience is that, I talked to a friend about what I experienced, and I'm going to go into detail about it in the video, but I talked to a friend, and the friend told me, when I talked, he was a really sweet friend, really sweet straight guy friend, and I told him about the creepy behavior. He told me to call a lawyer, so I did, and it was a very positive experience. I talked to an intake person. In the year 2020, I ended up having a lot of jobs, so I actually was, for like 6 weeks, I worked part-time at a lawyer's office, and my job was being the intake person. So I'm going to explain what an intake person was. But before I go into details with the creepy chiropractor, I talked to a lawyer. First, I talked to an intake person. She was lovely. I then talked to a lawyer for 2 hours. It was amazing. And here's the thing, like, I don't like, they didn't take the case, and like, that's totally fine, because like I said, it was like diet harassment, you know what I mean? Coke versus Diet Coke. I still think what happened to me is fucked up, but it's like, it was hard, because I don't know if it's worth a lawsuit, but like, what happened is fucked up. Sometimes being an asshole is illegal, and sometimes being an asshole is not against the law, you know what I mean? So, and then lawyers go to school forever. I had a job as a reader for a blind law student. So she was blind, and I saw how hard I had the lifestyle of a law student, and OMG, like, it sucked. I hated that job. Anyway, I was the assistant to a law student who was blind, and and they work very long hours just as law students. That's before they even become lawyers. So anyway, so lawyers go to school like forever. They have to memorize a bunch of laws. They have to pass a bar exam. So, but anyway, that is to say, I had a very positive experience with the intake person, with the lawyer I spoke to. I actually called I should have put an S in here, but with call a lawyer, you should actually call a bunch of lawyers. You should call multiple lawyers. But the reason I say call a lawyer is because I know, like, I grew up poor for all intents and purposes, and I know, like, sometimes the system is very scary, and you just assume the system won't work in your favor. But unemployment lawyers specifically, I have acquaintances who are lawyers, and I know the do-gooder lawyers. I know the lawyers who want to do good in the world. So unemployment lawyers want to do good in the world. They exist to help employees who've been fucked over. Excuse my language. So if you think you've been harassed, or if you have any question, if you've been at a job and you think some shady shit happened, I would highly, highly recommend talking to a lawyer. And because the whole process, I was scared because I grew up poor. I'm not used to using the system to stand up for myself. So because I had a very positive experience, and then I, for 6 weeks, was an intake person. And then, I worked at a lawyer's office for about 6 weeks, and then I got another job because the lawyer's office, that was a part-time job. And I moved on to a full-time job somewhere else. But I want, if you have any question, call a lawyer. My experience was very positive. So I talked to an intake person. I had 2 very bad experiences. One at a physical therapy clinic where I dealt with, it's the same thing where you Coke or Diet Coke. It was like diet homophobia. It was but it sucked. It was still fucked up. And so I talked about that, where it was a physical therapy. I had to deal with homophobia. And then at a chiropractic place, I had to deal with, I don't know what you could even call it. I had to deal with a really creepy, weird chiropractor. So I talked to an intake person. The intake person was amazing. I talked to a lawyer for 2 hours. He was amazing. And they very respectfully were like, hey, we're not going to take your case. And to be honest, I don't want to sue a physical therapy clinic. I live in the Bay Area where tech company, maybe I'm being too nice, but tech company, there's billion-dollar companies, several billion-dollar companies in the San Francisco Bay Area. And so, I don't want to sue a teeny tiny little chiropractic clinic that doesn't really make that much money compared to Google. And then do I really want to sue a teeny tiny little chiropractic or physical therapy? These are not big money makers. Okay. Compared to Google or Facebook, billion-dollar companies, these are teeny tiny little clinics. And I don't really want to sue these clinics. However, it is, what happened to me is fucked up, the behavior. So, I don't necessarily want anything bad to happen to the people who fuck me over. However, I do want some sort of social, poetic justice, spiritual justice, and I don't think people get away with doing things that are fucked up. So, whatever poetic justice would be. And I asked the lawyer, I was surprised. I emailed the lawyer. I was like, hey, and lawsuits, I had an acquaintance who had to be in a sexual harassment lawsuit, and she was 1,000% telling the truth. I know she was, you know what I mean? But she would cry a lot. It was just hard. It was hard, and she won the case because she was, of course, telling the truth. But anyway, that is to say, lawsuits are a pain in the ass. They're expensive. But here's the thing about why I want you to call a lawyer if you have any doubt. Unemployment lawyers, they don't get a check unless they win the case. And then they'll take a percentage of whatever money they win. So you don't have to pay them, basically. So that's what if you're I can't afford a lawyer. Unemployment lawyers don't collect money unless they win the case. So it's free. The lawyer talked to me for 2 hours for free, and I got empathy from a lawyer for 2 hours. Intake person, I got empathy I talked to her for about 30 minutes, 45 minutes. I got more empathy from an unemployment lawyer and an intake person, same law firm. I got more empathy from those people than I did from a chiropractic place I worked at for 6 weeks and a physical therapy place that I worked at for 7 months. So, yeah. So, lawyers can be empathetic. If you've never been friends with a lawyer or talked to a lawyer, I wish I could say the law firm, but I think Anyway, I asked the lawyer, hey, you're not going to take my case. And that's, yeah, like, I'm totally okay with that. Can I make a YouTube video about this? Because at this point, this is my thing. This is what I do. I make YouTube videos. So and I was surprised. He's like, yeah, just keep the people in the chiropractic clinic, keep them anonymous. And I was like, no problem. I'll totally do that. But yeah, it's your story. Like, tell the story, So I'm going to keep everybody in the clinic anonymous. Yeah, but the biggest thing, first thing I want to say, yeah, like I said, call a lawyer. Any doubt, call a lawyer, especially an unemployment lawyer. Like, the dude I talked to, straight guy, sounded like a straight guy. This guy was cool. Like, he understood how homophobia works. He was so empathetic and kind and didn't take person. She was a woman. She was really great and awesome too. I mean, she sounded straight. I don't know, whatever, who knows, but who cares? But it doesn't matter. Their sexual orientations are irrelevant, but they were so empathetic and kind, and they understood. Like, now they have, they're lawyers and intake people. They can't give legal advice, but they were really empathizing with everything I went through. And I really appreciate it because they were having reactions and they're like, damn, oh shit. Oh, they weren't cursing, but you know what I mean? And I appreciate it. I appreciated the validation. I got professional validation. I was like, so I'm not completely bananas, Okay. So if there's any doubt that you might have dealt with any kind of harassment at work, call 4 or 5 unemployment lawyers. If you're LGBTQ and you think you've dealt with like sexual any kind of homophobia, I think it's definitely illegal in California. I think it's illegal nationally speaking, but there's a bunch of like hotlines. Lambda, I think is what it's called, but I might be wrong about what it's called, but there is a national LGBTQ legal phone number. Basically, Google it, that you can call if you think you've dealt with discrimination because you're LGBTQ. And some lawyers will work pro bono. Pro bono means they are working for free. Like, you don't have to pay them, or they basically take a cut of any money that's won. So there's no financial risk. So I want y'all to, sometimes the system will work in your favor. I had a very positive experience talking to lawyers. Okay. So that part, I never thought I'd have to talk to a lawyer, but yeah. I mean, like, lawyers are cool. Nothing against lawyers. Okay. So that's the first thing I want to say. Then I'm going to get into like the creepy chiropractor. Okay. So my second thing, this is what I said last video. I said, trust your instincts. Trust your instincts. Because like, this guy was bad mojo, and I got to the point where I didn't want to be in the same room with him because he just creeped me out. But you'll see, like, it's like diet, like I said, Coke and Diet Coke. It's like diet harassment, you know what I mean? But that's what made it hard. It was actually my hairdresser. My hairdresser was cutting my hair, and I told her what happened. She's like, oh, I totally get it. Because she's a woman, and she was saying, like, when you get a creepy vibe from somebody and you can't quite put your finger on it, but something's telling you this person's not right, so you gotta bounce. And it's like, yeah, except he did do stuff that creeped me. Like, there is stuff he did, but like I said, it's diet, diet harassment, if you will. The other, because I totally get it. Like, there's worse things happening in the world, that kind of thing. And then I've had family members in general who just gaslighted me my whole life, so which is not okay. Never validated. I have family members who never validated how I felt about anything, right? So I'm just kind of used to it. But I gotta tell you, I'm gonna stand up for myself in this video. And yes, I think what happened to me is fucked up, and a professional lawyer agreed with me. So cool. I'm not completely bananas. Okay. So I want to trust my instincts because, like, I got to the place where I did not feel comfortable being in the same room with this dude because this dude creeped me out. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he's dangerous. I just think he needs to learn better people skills around women or around people who work under him. Like, he doesn't understand. There's being in a bar. If you're in a bar and I'm around some dude that I'm not vibing with, I can just walk away. But when I'm at work, I'm there for a paycheck. You know, I got to pay my rent. I got to buy food. And so when I'm at work, I'm stuck with people I have to be around. I can't leave the room until, you know, until my shift's over. So the reason why employment laws exist, and, you know, there's happy-go-lucky capitalism and there's sinister capitalism, but the reason why these laws exist, you know, sexual harassment, all this harassment in general, is because, you know, people, you know, it's sinister capitalism. People have to go to their jobs to get their paychecks to pay for food and housing, you know, or healthcare. And it's like, you're stuck in a room with people. You have to be around these people. You have to talk to them. You have to interact with them. And you just want to go to work, get a check, and leave, you know? Hopefully you like what you're doing. And I did actually love being a receptionist at the chiropractic clinic. I actually loved the job. But the reason why people got to learn people skills in the workplace is because you want everyone to feel comfortable. And it's all about balance. It's definitely all about balance. I know, and there's legit laws, but I do think cancel culture can take stuff too far. I agree with that. I totally believe in forgiveness. I forgive the creepy guy. But the one thing he never understood is the context. You know, I have to be around him. He never understood that. So because I have to be in a room, he kept thinking we were friends, and it's like, and it's odd. Yeah, anyway, because I had to be in a room with him, he didn't understand, like, the way he was acting was inappropriate and fucked up. No matter what some of my whatever family members might think, like, whatever, they're wrong. Okay. So the other thing I want to say is, like, I made like a 10 video thing about this, like in March 2021. And it was too long. So that's why I'm redoing it. I'm redoing this. This is only going to be, I don't know, we'll see. But all right, let's get into it. So yeah, so I want to say, like, trust your instincts. Like, if your gut is telling you someone's not cool, like, if you can, bounce. The reason why we have laws and unemployment lawyers is because it's hard for people. People can't just quit a job, you know what I mean? And so, because they need the money, you know what I mean? So people can't just, like, peace out and quit their jobs, and then they got to have the income. Under the guise of sinister capitalism, they got to have the income. So they're stuck being around people. And so because of that, you got to have laws where people in the workplace are being respectful. It's just basic respect, basic kindness. Okay. So first little thing, or second or third, but this is the creepy chiropractor, and I'm being fair, I put it in quotation marks, but I'll just, for the sake of, I gotta keep him anonymous, the creepy chiropractor. So the first thing I'm gonna say is that I'm gonna say some nice stuff about him to be fair to him. So when he interviewed me, I'm paraphrasing, but when he interviewed me, I got interviewed individually. I got interviewed by the creepy chiropractor. There's two other characters in this story that everything I'm about to say actually happened. By the way, I don't need to do this. It's a YouTube video, but I'm going to hold a Bible. My neighbors are talking. I'm going to edit that out. Okay, anyway, so I'm going to hold a Bible and just say, like, everything I'm saying is the truth. I don't need to do this. It's a YouTube video, but this is the Bible. I'm holding the Bible. Everything I'm going to say in this YouTube video is, like, totally true. Okay. Like, it happened. Okay. So the other two people in the video I'll be talking about is the lady chiropractor. She plays a role in this whole situation. And then there's a lady called the acupuncturist. So those two people are, like, they play a role, like, in this situation. Okay, so now I'm going to say, like, some nice stuff to be fair to the creepy chiropractor. Okay, so, when he first interviewed me, I got interviewed individually, so all three people came in, and it was one-on-ones. So the creepy guy, I'm paraphrasing, but he basically said, and this is where I was actually impressed, he basically said, I'm paraphrasing, he didn't exactly use these words, but he gave me a scenario, and he's like, quick, if this had happened, what would you do? And I said, oh, anyway, whatever. So I answered the question. He's like, no. He's like, actually, you can tell me if I'm interrupting you, or like, you can tell me to back off if you want to. Something like that. He said something like that. He initiated that. So he was basically saying, like, I'm paraphrasing, but he was basically saying, tell him when he's being an asshole. That's basically what he was saying. And, not that I'd ever call my boss an asshole, but it's like, basically, if he's being like a dick, tell him when he's being a dick. But in a diplomatic way at work. You have to use work words. You can't say what I just said. So, but I was impressed. He's like, when he's being shitty, tell him when he's being shitty. Yeah. I think in that case, like, tell him when he needs to back off. Like, he literally said that, something like that, which I thought was pretty cool. A couple of times he bought me coffee and donuts, and I feel like that was him sincerely trying to be nice. I felt like that was sincere. I also want to say, like, I do think he's unaware of his behavior. He's unaware of, like, how he comes across. So it's not premeditated, the weirdness. He's not like, dear diary, I'm going to be creepy today. So that's not it. He just doesn't realize how he comes across, and he doesn't realize we're in a workplace. Okay. We're at work. I have to be in a room with him. Okay. I want to say he's very insecure. I got a front row seat to his personality for 6 weeks. I saw a very insecure guy. I'm not judging him. I forgive him, but this is going to play a role in his weird behavior. I also want to say, I'm sure he has childhood trauma. Everybody has trauma. I empathize with his childhood trauma, whatever that is. He didn't tell me, but there's got to be. There's got to be. The guy was so weird. Okay, and then, I have childhood trauma, so, no judgments. And finally, I want to say he is the reason I got a job. Like, it was his idea to hire somebody, which is great. Because of that, I got, like, $1,000 worth of free acupuncture, and acupuncture feels so good. So I want to give him, props for that. I discovered how amazing acupuncture is because, yeah, it was his job. It was his idea to have a job, that the job existed. So that's cool. So that's the positive stuff I'm going to say about him. Okay. So now I'm going to talk about the creepy stuff, and I want to say, holding a Bible, I 1000% stand by what I'm saying. Okay. Okay, so mild stuff. So the two women, the lady chiropractor and the acupuncturist, their instructions on how to do the job, I had the job for about six weeks. Their instructions overall were pretty consistent. So it was pretty consistent what I needed to learn, and I had a lot to learn. But his instructions were very inconsistent. They would change. So it was kind of confusing. So I took a lot of notes because it would change almost daily what he wanted. And that's the thing. Right. Okay. So the first week I worked with him, like Mondays and Wednesdays, like pretty much everyone was there. I had to work with him Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesdays, everybody was there. But on Thursdays, it was just me and him in the clinic alone. And so the first week I got hired, the only reason I got hired was to fill the chiropractor's schedules and the acupuncturist. And I kind of missed that. So the acupuncturist, she's very sweet. She bought me lunch. She was just really sweet. So I think she's a cool person. I just wish she was more courageous. But I think she's a cool person. So the acupuncturist, she trained me, and there's a disconnect between the acupuncture department and the chiropractic department, because like the only reason I got hired was to make lots of phone calls and to fill the schedules for the chiropractors. That's the number one reason I got hired. And when I got trained, the acupuncturist didn't say anything about that. And that's okay. I wish she had said something, but that's okay. So I was still learning all the insurances. Here it is. Yeah. I'm going to do a very quick. So I had to, there you go. I'll go faster. Yeah. Okay, so I had to memorize all these insurances and how they worked and all that kind of stuff. And so I had a lot of information to memorize about the insurances, but the only reason the chiropractors hired me was to fill their schedules. And they had this huge log of former patients. So really the only reason I got hired was to call as many patients as possible and get them to come into the clinic and fill their schedules. Now, this was in the year 2020. So yeah, 2020. So like, this was still the global pandemic. There was not a vaccine out yet. So when I would call patients, because I did call a little bit, but not as much as I could have. But when I did call patients, a lot of them were terrified to leave their home, which totally makes sense because global pandemic and if they're watching the news. So, and I didn't really know, what am I going to say to that if they're terrified to leave their home? You know what I mean? So I did, but I could have made more phone calls. I want to say that. Okay. But so the only reason I got hired was to fill their schedules. But here's the deal. So the first week I got hired, it was a Thursday. Me and the chiropractor were alone. He was really like correcting everything I did every 5 seconds. Or, I mean, I'm exaggerating, but he was training me. But his training was very confusing. It was not consistent. He was very picky about stuff but also, anyway, whatever. But I was trying to keep up with his very specific instructions. And, okay, so it's Thursday. It's Thursday. I get a phone call. He gets a phone call. And his schedule's wide open. He doesn't have any patients. Yeah, I'm going to keep him anonymous. But so I get a phone call at the same time that he gets a phone call from 2 new patients. And the new patient, I'm like, oh, hey, yeah. And they both want to come in that day, which is great. So that means more patients for the creepy chiropractor, which means filling up his schedule, which is great, right? So I scheduled a patient to come in that day at the same time that he scheduled a patient to come in that day. And it all worked out, which is great. So a trigger that the creepy chiropractor had was he really didn't like it when people were late. He would have like this emotional reaction. And I've learned in the Bay Area that some people, that is their triggers, people being late. It's not a trigger for me necessarily. It's not an emotional trigger for me. I guess if someone's late, it's sort of annoying, but I don't know. I don't have some huge emotional reaction if somebody's like late to an appointment or something like that. It can suck, you know what I mean? Like if you're sitting there waiting for somebody or whatever, like meeting a friend or something like that. So it's annoying, but I don't get bent out of shape. But I know for other people, it's an emotional trigger. So he really didn't like people being late. So that's something he would have this big emotional reaction to someone being late. So what happened that first week was that this guy calls and I pick up the phone and I'm like, I'm going to call him patient. I'm like, hey, patient. And the chiropractor, the creepy chiropractor had scheduled him that day. So he'd called that day and he put him in the schedule that day. So I'm talking to the guy, the patient, the new patient, and he's like, hey, like, yo, listen, I'm in a lot of back pain. And he's like, I've been scrambling trying to get a ride. And he's like, it looks like I'm going to be a little bit late, but I found a ride, right? And he's like, yo, but I'm going to be late, So he was going to be like maybe 15, 20 minutes late. But the thing is, like, with the chiropractor, his schedule's wide open. It's wide open. So he's just sitting there. So who cares if the dude's 20 minutes, you know what I mean? Like versus like, if his schedule's full, then you can't be late because he's got to see the next patient at the scheduled time. But, I'm staring at his schedule. It's wide open. So what difference does it make, right? So the guy's going to be about 15, 20 minutes. But I can hear in his voice he's in physical pain. He's been scrambling looking for a ride. And that also and then public transportation, I remember was a little tricky at this time too, because I think COVID was affecting public transportation. So I tell the creepy chiropractor, I'm like, hey, looks like he's going to be maybe 15, 20 minutes late. And then the chiropractor, he has an emotional reaction. He gets angry. He's like, if he's going to be late, then no, I'm not going to see him. And And I look at him and I'm like, I think it's stupid. But basically, I just think it's stupid. I think the chiropractor is being really stupid. So he doesn't want to see him because he's being late. You know, he talks weird. The chiropractor talks weird. I don't like him. So anyway, so I don't like the chiropractor. It's going to be hard for me to, you know, I forgive him for being silly. So I don't know what to say to the patient, because I don't know how to say to the patient, hey, I can't say the chiropractor's being stupid. He doesn't want to see you because you're being late, because you're late. You know what I mean? And I just didn't know what to do. It was my first week. So I don't want the chiropractor to look like an asshole. So, cause he's being an asshole in my opinion. So I choose to lie. I choose to lie straight up. So I say to the patient, I was like, you know what? I'm so sorry. The chiropractor schedule is very booked. He's not going to be able to see you. I'm lying, by the way. He's not going to be able to see you, but can we schedule you in for tomorrow? And the patient talks to me and he says, wait a second. When I called this morning and he talked to the chiropractor, he offered me 3 different times to come in. And that was only an hour or so ago. And now you're telling me the schedule's fully booked? And I was like, shit. And I said, well, yeah, it's fully booked, you know, because what am I supposed to say? Like, and then the chiropractor, and the chiropractor likes what I'm saying. You know, I'm lying because the chiropractor is being a little bitch. Excuse my language. He's being stupid. He's just angry that the dude might be a little late and his schedule's wide open. It's fucking stupid. So, but that's his emotional trigger. So I talked to the guy on the phone. Anyway, the guy says, you know, now you're telling me the schedule's empty. And I say, I'm like, yeah, or the schedule's full. And I was like, yeah, the schedule's full. And I was like, do you want to reschedule for tomorrow or Monday? And the guy says, no, I don't. Because basically, like, anyway, so I hang up the phone and we lose the patient. We lose the new patient, by the way. Oh, and this guy's going to pay $100 out of pocket for the chiropractor services. And here's like, this is the first week I work with the creepy guy. And it's like, we'll get into it, but the creepy guy is very snooty. He comes across like he grew up with money. The patient, like we didn't cover, his insurance wasn't covered. We didn't take his insurance. That's why he was going to pay $100 out of his own pocket for the chiropractic services. So this patient is in physical pain. The chiropractor has a skill set that can help him be out of pain. He could have made $100 cash. But the creepy chiropractor, he's too busy having a temper tantrum over this guy being 20 minutes late when his schedule's wide open. He'd rather have a temper tantrum than see the patient and ease his pain and make the money. And the patient, like, props to the patient for, like, saying, you know, realizing that there's no integrity. What I did was not good, but I was put in a weird position. So I tell the chiropractor, I say, oh, he said when he called this morning, you offered him 3 different times. So he said it didn't really make any sense why all of a sudden your schedule would be busy. So he decided he doesn't want to go to this clinic anymore. And the creepy chiropractor, he looks like he feels bad. He should feel bad because he's stupid. And he looks like he feels bad. He's like, oh shit, like that made me look like an asshole, because he is being an asshole. So the creepy chiropractor, but of course he's a rich guy. Some rich people are really cool. I just want to say that. I have rich friends. I'm middle class, but I have really nice rich friends. So I want to say that for the record. And the physical therapists I worked with were all really nice people when I was at the clinic. It was the owners were slightly homophobic, but the physical therapists I worked with were really nice. Anyway, with the creepy chiropractor, he looks at me and he knows like he looks like an asshole in this situation. And then he blames the situation on me because he can. He's like, well, you didn't tell me that. You should have told me that. And I mean, it doesn't make any sense that he is blaming the situation on me, because basically, you know, the guy was going to be a little bit late because he didn't own a car. He was just trying to find a way to get to the chiropractic clinic. The chiropractor, his schedule was wide open. All he had to do was just wait and read a book or something. I mean, it was just weird. It was weird. I didn't understand. Like, when I worked at the physical therapy clinic, if the reason why they'd have to turn people away if they were late is because their schedules were packed. So people could not be late because they had another patient coming in 15, you know, their schedules were packed from morning to the evening the only reason we turned people away at the physical therapy clinic is because literally they didn't, you know, if they're late, like, they're like, that's it. Like, we'd have to reschedule because their schedules were so packed. So they're like, if someone was late, they're like, look, someone's coming in 15 minutes, so I can't see you because, you know, that's going to mess up the whole, you know, I can't keep everyone on the schedule waiting, you know, that's going to back up the whole schedule for the day. So, that's the only reason we ever had to turn people away. So I didn't like that. I thought it was really heartless. I thought it was really silly. But also it's just that it showed me like, oh shit, like my job is to fill their schedules and I'm going to have a tough time because this guy, the creepy chiropractor, is going to get in my way every step of the way. Which sucks, right? Okay. The other issue I want to say is that with the creepy chiropractor is he had competition. So as far as the lady acupuncturist and the lady chiropractor, here's what I want to say, because this is going to play a factor into all of this. Let's say Michelle Pfeiffer and Lucy Liu started a clinic together. Let's say Michelle Pfeiffer was a chiropractor and Lucy Liu was an acupuncturist. I want to say that because the women in the clinic, the acupuncturist, the chiropractor, the two women, like objectively speaking, like they're like really, really, really attractive women. So that's why this dude's acting weird. 1 second. Okay, yeah, okay. Location change. I thought my roommate came home. She actually did not come home, but she's going to eventually, so location change. Yeah, so basically, like, the lady chiropractor and the acupuncturist, like I said, let's say Michelle Pfeiffer and Lucy Liu, you know, started a clinic together. Like, and the reason I use those actresses on purpose is, you know, most people would say those actresses are very attractive women, right? So the only reason I'm bringing that up is because the acupuncturist, the lady chiropractor, they're both very attractive women. It's not a big deal. But the reason I'm bringing it up is because that's why the creepy chiropractor is going to start acting weird. Because I don't know. I just think he can't handle being around women. I don't know. Yeah, okay. Okay, the next thing is that with the creepy chiropractor, okay. So there's this insurance company called the low paying insurance company that actually, the creepy guy showed me, it actually pays $30 for 15 minutes of work. As someone who's middle class and grew up poor, I think that's a lot of money. But the creepy chiropractor, I think he grew up rich, so $30 for 15 minutes of work, he considers that being underpaid. So anyway, there's a low paying, I'm using quotation marks, there's a low paying insurance company that quote unquote only pays like $30 a session, which I think is plenty of money. Chiropractic sessions go from 15 minutes to 30 minutes up to an hour. So I think that's plenty of money. The creepy chiropractor, he didn't like that the low paying insurance company, quote unquote, only paid $30 a session. So because of that, he came up with this form. It's definitely not illegal. Like it was like a legal form, but he came up with the $25 form, and it's basically a form where he can charge $25 more per session for people who have the quote unquote bad insurance company. And so so they have to sign a form saying they'll pay $25 more out of pocket. The medical code he uses it's a medical code for massage, that he's massaging the muscles. But even then, he told me that basically, I'm paraphrasing, but he told me the $25 form is basically bullshit. He doesn't feel like he's being paid what he deserves. So he came up with this form where they have to pay $25 more for the medical code, out of pocket medical code of massaging the muscles around the spine where he provides the services. And massaging the muscles, he just takes one of those back massagers. You can buy it at anywhere where they sell massagers. And he just takes this back massager, an automatic back massager, and it vibrates. And he just does that to the spine. And the only reason he's doing that is so that he can charge $25 more. And so he comes up with this form. And then the receptionist, have to explain it. And at first I was confused. Like, I didn't understand what it was or why it existed. Like, just straight up, because, it was like my first week. So he's like, oh, by the way, this is a form. Get them to sign it. They both need to pay like $25 extra for the session out of pocket. So 2 patients came up. They had the same insurance company. It's the low paying insurance company. And I'm like, hey, by the way, here's a form. You have to pay like $25 extra for this medical code. And they're like, why do we have to do that? And I was like, the first time it happened, I was like, I don't know. I don't know why you have to do that. I have no idea. But, the creepy chiropractor told me to have you sign this form, and you both have to pay $25 more. And they both had sessions, and it both happened around the same time. So they're like, what? No, they're right. Like, why is this happening? They kind of just had the question. And I was like, I have no idea why it's happening, because I just got the job. And then they leave, and that's when the creepy chiropractor explains to me, he's like, oh, he's not getting paid what he deserved. He's being egotistical. And because the low-paying insurance company doesn't pay what he feels like he deserves to get paid, he came up with this form. And that's when he tells me, too, like, the back massager, it's just something he made up so that he could charge $25 more. I think it's stupid. I think it's cheap. I think it's silly. I think he's just being egotistical. I don't know. And the thing is, too, it's not like the biggest vibe about this guy, the creepy chiropractor, is not, he never came across like he really needed the money, you know what I mean? So it's not like, oh, if he doesn't get that extra $25, he can't pay his rent. Like, it's not like that. It's basically him being egotistical. And it's, that's his prerogative. But I kept being put in a position where I had to explain his shitty behavior where he doesn't look like a complete asshole, because then I can't keep his schedule full. So I got to make him look not like an asshole. So what I had to start doing, and I'm kind of lying because this asshole wants an extra $25. It's kind of cheap of him. I don't know, whatever. But I have to say, oh, actually, before he provides the chiropractic services, he needs to prepare the muscles around the spine, and he needs to massage the muscles around the spine before he provides the service. And then I'm like, and unfortunately, your insurance company just doesn't cover that specific medical code. Because every time they do something, there's like a code to it. So like number code, and they're called medical codes. And so that's what I had to do. And they're like, and I'm kind of lying because I have to, I'm the receptionist. And so they're, and I had to throw it on to the insurance company. I had to make it their fault. And so he doesn't look like a fucking asshole. And so that's what I had to do. And they're like, oh, okay. All right. So, but even then, it's kind of a head scratcher. Because really, I think he's being an asshole. But I'm not a chiropractor. So I don't know how I'd run a chiropractic clinic. Okay. So, yeah, so that became a thing. The $25 form, that always became problematic because, I don't know, like, the insurances are very confusing, but the low-paying insurance company, they're like this umbrella company that I'd never heard of, and they manage and own a couple of insurance companies that I had heard of, like, And so it was hard to figure out, like, if they were, it was hard to figure out people's, it just made it kind of complicated and confusing. But because this cheap asshole wanted an extra $25 because he's not getting paid what he deserves, it's kind of silly, but, or whatever, I don't know. I'm sure people can have different opinions of that, but it just made it harder because all of a sudden I have to explain this form, and it totally makes sense that why the patients were like confused, because they're like, what? I don't get this. So yeah. Okay, the other thing the creepy chiropractor would do is he would talk shit about people. And here's the thing, like, I understand, like, we've all talked shit about people. It's a thing that happens, or gossip, or that kind of thing. So I don't want to act self-righteous. We've all done it. But I didn't, in the context of a medical field, I didn't like it. And then also the lady chiropractor and the acupuncturist, they were both overall such, as far as the day-to-day basis, they were both lovely women, and they really cared about their patients. So, like, to go from the women who were like really good at their jobs and they cared about their patients and all that kind of stuff, to go from them to this weird, creepy chiropractor who just sort of talks shit about his patients, I did think that was kind of weird, because like his job is like putting his hands on people's bodies, and they have to lay down on their stomach, and he has to like adjusting your spine. They're just releasing air out of your spine. That's like the science of it. But the fact that he put his hands on these people's bodies, and the minute they walk out, he's making fun of them, I thought that was pretty creepy, especially because all the patients that came into the clinic were really nice people, and they're all like sweet and kind and interesting and wonderful people. And so, and here comes this weird little creepy dude who was just talking shit about him. It was very mean-spirited, and I didn't like it. And the physical therapist never did that, like when I worked at a physical therapy clinic. So I'd never experienced a medical professional acting like a mean girl, like the movie Mean Girls. I'd never experienced that before. And I didn't respect it. I didn't respect it at all. But here's an example, though. So this guy came in who is a personal trainer. He's a really sweet guy, really nice guy. And he gets an adjustment from the creepy chiropractor, and he's such a sweet guy. And then he leaves. And then for some reason, and maybe the patient, gave him his Instagram. I don't know, whatever. But the creepy chiropractor looks up the patient on Instagram, and the patient is on Instagram. It's, it's his Instagram, whatever. And the patient is wearing like, the patient who is a personal trainer, he's in really good shape because he's a personal trainer. It's his job to be in really good shape. But the personal trainer is wearing like kind of a skimpy leather outfit. Clearly it's like a picture from like Pride. And by the way, San Francisco has one of the biggest prides in the world. And so he's wearing like a skimpy leather outfit. And honestly, he looks great because he's in really good shape. So, so he's kind of dressed like He-Man, how He-Man kind of has like the skimpy shirt thing that he wears. So he's kind of wearing something like that, and he's pulling it off. He looks really good. But the creepy chiropractor, he shows me the patient's Instagram, and he's like, look, and then he's like, you know what? If anyone comes into this clinic who looks like this, tell them to just leave, and we don't serve patients like him. And I said, excuse me. Okay, first of all, that's homophobic. It's homophobic. Like, he's saying it without saying it. Because the creepy chiropractor is married to a woman. So I said, I looked at the creepy chiropractor. I was like, you can't say that shit in San Francisco. I said, there's a lot of people in San Francisco like that guy. And to give the chiropractor credit, as soon as I said that, the chiropractor stood back and he's like, oh, he says, the whole gay pride parade could walk through the clinic and I would see them. And I was like, thinking, you bet your ass you would. There's laws. And I thought because this guy, the creepy chiropractor, he'd go back and forth on when he wanted money and when he didn't want money. But I'm just like, yo, buddy, I thought you wanted to make lots of money. And there's so many gay people in San Francisco, whatever. It's not lucrative to be homophobic in San Francisco. But he backed off as soon as he said that. But that's the other thing. If we're in a workplace, you can't say homophobic stuff. We're at work. But anyway, this is where I didn't like this guy. He would also he would mock or make fun of the women behind their backs to me. So he would just make fun of the lady acupuncturist and the lady chiropractor. And I also thought it was mean-spirited because the two women were so lovely and kind and sweet and didn't really talk shit about anybody, you know. So he would just like mock the clinic, like the way we like took money. We had two different card machines, and he's like, we shouldn't have like two different card machines. And I would explain, well, that card machine goes into the acupuncturist account because it's the acupuncturist is a different company, technically. And that machine goes into the chiropractic, you know, it's two different companies. So it goes into two different business accounts. So the two card machines totally make sense, like the logic. But he's like, there should just be one. It was really stupid, silly stuff. Like, because these women were so lovely and the patients were so lovely, like, you have to be really creative to find things to talk shit about. But that's an example of it, where he's talking shit about something stupid like the card machines, because he had another clinic. So, and again, it's just mean-spirited and dumb, and I don't like it. Excuse me. Okay, so also he would get, in my opinion, weird and creepy. Okay. Right, so he's trying to talk shit about the women. I'm not letting him do that. And then there's not much to say because they're both very lovely to work with on a day-to-day basis. So for me, it's the first week or two, so I kind of want to see what I'm working with this dude, but I kind of already know. And one thing that the acupuncturist had asked me to talk to the chiropractor about, because they kind of missed each other sometimes because they all had different, you know, appointments to patients to give attention to. So one time, basically, if a patient had an appointment with the chiropractor, and then the patients would schedule back to back. So if the patient had an appointment with the chiropractor like at 2:00, but then at 2:30 they're supposed to go to the acupuncturist, apparently the chiropractor, he had like kept the patient a little bit longer, which is not the end of the world, but the acupuncturist was like, please, you know, it throws off her whole day. Like, it basically makes the whole day 15 minutes late if he, you know, with all the back-to-back patients. So, because her schedule was always very full, because she was really good at her job. The acupuncturist was really good at her job. So keeping her schedule full was so easy. It was like giving candy to everybody because everybody likes candy. So, but anyway, so I said to the chiropractor, I said, hey, by the way, no biggie. This is after he's trying to talk shit about the women. I was like, well, since we're talking shit, you know, I'm thinking, I don't say that, I'm at work, but okay. So since we're on this bandwagon, I was like, hey, by the way, the acupuncturist wanted me to let you know, like, you know, try to stay on time with the patients because, you know, so if your appointment with the patient is 2 to 2:30, try to end at 2:30 as much as possible so that they can go to her appointment, you know, so the patient can go to chiropractic on time and then go to acupuncturist on time, and it doesn't completely throw off her schedule. Which is like, to me, it's such a simple request. Like, I wouldn't take that request very personally at all. It's just like, it's logistics, basically. She's just asking for logistics. But that's all I said. I said it super nicely. And this is the first time I saw this guy get weird. So, well, he was always weird, but he has an emotional reaction and he goes like this. This is what he does. And this is like legit what he does. He goes, you know what? Well, I heard that she's getting chiropractic services from some other chiropractor. He goes like that. Like he freaks out. And then I'm looking at him like, and then here's the thing that's weird. He's coming off like a jealous boyfriend. So he's jealous that he heard that she got chiropractic services from some other chiropractor, which I don't even know that's true, but it was really weird. It was really weird. Like, he's jealous. I don't know what you call that. I don't know what you call that. I don't know what label to call that other than weird. You know what I mean? So it was strange. It was strange that it's strange. I've never met anyone like him. He was jealous. But I gotta tell you, she looks like Lucy. That is to say, she's a very attractive woman. So but even then, like, he's married, and it's just weird. It's really weird. Okay. Oh, right. So then he says stuff to me that to me is very disrespectful and creepy. So it was a Thursday. We're working one-on-one. No one else is on the clinic, and no one else is in the clinic. And he says, hey, we should exchange phone numbers, like text message phone numbers, in case you're ever running late or anything like that. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, that's cool. So he exchanged numbers, but he's like, yeah, but if you want my number, you're going to have to work for it. And it's really, really creepy, and it's disrespectful, and he's talking down to me. It can have sexual connotations, but it's really, really creepy, and I don't like it. And that he wants me to work for his phone number, it grosses me out. And it's when he talks, when he opens his mouth, it's very condescending, it's very patronizing to all of humanity. He does not like humans, and so that's an example of, like, it's gross. You know what I mean? And because he has power over me, he can talk down to me, and I don't like it. I don't like this guy. I want an angel from heaven to hit him with a pillow. No permanent damage, but it's just so disrespectful to all of humanity. So yeah, he says that. And then, okay, so now here's the thing too, where it got weird. So the lady chiropractor, an attractive woman, she owns the clinic. She's the boss, right? So her and the creepy guy, they're like interacting about something or whatever. And the creepy guy, he just likes to talk to women like they're garbage because he's creepy. All right, so, the lady chiropractor, she's originally from a country that's not the United States. And so we had patients who were from the same country she was from. And by the way, the country she's from, is an interesting country. Like all countries are interesting. They come with their own culture and food and architecture and philosophers and all that kind of stuff, right? So every country in the world has its own really cool culture, you know what I mean? So, anyway, right, a patient comes in and they speak the same original language, so they're talking to each other in the same original language, and then the patient leaves, and then the creepy chiropractor says to the lady chiropractor, he says, hey, the patient, she's from the same town you're right from. She's from the same town that you're from, right? Because he has like a weird laugh. And I look at him, and I find the joke to be very disrespectful. So the joke is, in regards to the country that the lady chiropractor is from, the joke is, it's all the same, right? And it's kind of prejudiced. It's prejudiced against the country she's from. No, it's not all the same. You know what I mean? It's like for example, the United States, there's Florida, there's New York, there's California. The United States is very diverse. The country she's from is very diverse. So he says that joke. The point of it is to be condescending. That's usually when he's talking, he's being very condescending. He's always putting people down. But also, this lady is his boss. So I found the joke to be very disrespectful. I'm looking at him. I can't believe you just said that to your boss. And I'm looking at her, and the look on her face is the joke bothers her. The joke bothers her because it is a very condescending, prejudiced joke. It's prejudiced. Yeah. Okay, whatever. So, but I'm just the receptionist, so I'm like, yo, is she gonna tell him to go fuck himself, or what is she gonna stand up for herself? Because, like, what the fuck is wrong with this chiropractor? So I look at her. She looks like it makes her feel bad, because of course it is. He just said something really condescending about the country she's from, and so anyway, he doesn't even notice, because like he has no people skills, so he doesn't notice that he just made her feel bad, because she's very proud of the country she's from, and she should totally be proud of the country she's from. So she doesn't say anything. I'm like, okay, you're the boss lady, and I'm the receptionist, and this guy's a piece of shit, so whatever. So So whatever. Later on that day, she comes up to me and she says, Julie, the creepy chiropractor, he made that joke about me and the patient being from the same town, even though she does say, when he says, she's from the same town you're from, right? When he says that, very condescending, she does say, no, actually, she's from this part of the country, I'm from that part of the country, we're from different parts of the country, the country we're from is very diverse and has all this culture. Like, she does defend herself, but he doesn't realize he just said something kind of shitty. Okay, not kind of, and to his boss and to a woman. Anyway, later on that day, she comes up to me and she's like, the creepy chiropractor, he said that joke about the patient being from the same town I'm from. And, I think it's funny, I think it's cool and funny when people tell jokes like that. And basically she's gaslighting herself because, like, the joke was mean and prejudiced and it wasn't a nice joke. This guy sucks. But whatever, like, that's between her and the guy. I don't know why she didn't stand up to him, but whatever. So this guy's just kind of garbage. Okay. So all the patients in the clinic were like really nice people. So, the patients, they were just lovely, amazing. The men, the women, everybody was so lovely who came into the clinic. Like 99% of the people who came into the clinic were really wonderful people. So one woman, she came in and she was like a therapist, like an emotional therapist type of thing. So, people come in and talk about their problems. So she was a therapist. So she gave the creepy chiropractor some of her business cards very innocently. She's like, I'm looking for more patients or more clients. And if you want to show this, if you feel comfortable, like, giving out my card, that would be great, which makes sense because it's all in the medical field. And she leaves, and then the creepy chiropractor comes up to me and he's like, she gave me these cards, and then he starts doing the douchey thing he does, and take these cards, put them behind the desk, and after a week, throw them away. And just being a bitch, like, this dude's such a bitch. So once again, he acted like he was being sincere to the patient, and I don't know, he's making fun of her for just making a simple request. He's acting like he's a nice guy when he's just kind of weird and douchey, and he's always making fun of people. I don't know, whatever. So, the other thing about the creepy chiropractor is he was snooty and very classist. So he would just, this was odd too, but whatever. So, he talked about how eventually with the low paying insurance company, he eventually convinced the lady chiropractor not to take that insurance anymore. He was still going to see the patients and they were still going to pay the same amount out of pocket. They were going to get like grandfathered into the clinic, but he was going to, but he just, because, the low paying insurance company wasn't paying him what he deserved, he convinced the lady chiropractor not to take those patients anymore, at least their insurance, but the patients were going to get grandfathered in where they'd pay the same out of pocket. They just weren't going to charge their insurance. So he does that and he says, okay, great. Now we can get better patients. And by better patients, he means people whose insurance pays more money. And I'm going to tell you, I don't like that. I understand you got to stay in business. But like I said, this guy didn't seem to really worry about money as far as paying his rent or buying food. What he meant, he's just being very, in my opinion, greedy. And it just seems like, to me, he kind of cares about the patients, but it really comes around like the main reason he became a chiropractor was just to make money. And I think, I don't like that. I think with happy-go-lucky, I think theoretically, happy-go-lucky capitalism, you can make money and care about the well-being of your patients at the same time. That's the idea behind happy-go-lucky capitalism versus sinister capitalism, where you don't give no fucks about your patients and you just want the money from their insurance company. And I don't like it. I think it's fucked up. You know what I mean? But whatever. Yeah, or because he talked about money a lot. He also talked about how he loved patients who work for UPS because they had really great insurance because their insurance paid a lot of money. So it's always about money, 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 less about helping people. Um, it made me feel uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Especially with healthcare. I don't think healthcare is a right. I don't think healthcare should be a luxury item. I think it should be a right. Like, I'm fine with Lamborghinis or Tiffany's. They make jewelry or Louis Vuitton. I'm okay with luxury brands. I think everyone deserves a little luxury in their lives, but I don't like when you turn the very concept of healthcare into luxury. That I think healthcare is a right. I don't think it's a privilege. I think healthcare is a right. You know, it's healthcare. Um, yeah. Oh, right. So the chiropractic clinic was in like a, I don't know. So the creepy chiropractor, he liked to keep tabs on his competition. So he was talking about some other chiropractic clinic owned by someone else. And he's like, yeah, that chiropractic clinic, like I checked it out. They'll take like any insurance. And he's saying it in like a snooty way. And I think the creepy chiropractor is kind of a piece of shit because the clinic that'll take any insurance, that means they will help anybody. They're that's a good thing. So the clinic that takes any insurance, that means they're willing to help all human beings. That's amazing. That means that clinic cares about helping people versus the creepy chiropractor who just wants money. So the creepy chiropractor is mocking the concept of empathy. And that is mind-boggling to me. It's mind-boggling to me. I don't like this guy. I'm willing to forgive this guy. Maybe this guy in 10 years will turn into an amazing person, but I forgive the guy. I just don't like the guy. Oh, right. So the other thing the creepy chiropractor would do, and I'm kind of just shocked that he's doing this in a workplace. He's doing it in San Francisco, one of the most diverse cities in the world. Like, I'm just shocked because, like, San Francisco is supposed to be very woke. Like, the creepy chiropractor cares so much about money. I'm shocked that he's not afraid of getting sued. Like, that's the part of it too, is like, dude, you say some of this shit around the wrong person, they could sue you, like, in a heartbeat. So I'm just surprised. And he doesn't know, like, the laws, but so the part where he'd say like weird stuff, we had a person in the clinic, and he was like, why is she so serious all the time? Is it like a Japanese thing? And I was like, I can't say anything because I'm the receptionist, but I'm like, dude, you can't you can't say a stereotype. It's a stereotype I've never heard of, personally. You can't say a stereotype about someone's ethnicity and race out loud at work. I don't want to hear you say weird stuff about Japanese people. I don't want to do that. I have Japanese American friends. It's just like, stop talking. Like, stop talking, chiropractor. So stuff like that, not okay. You can't say stuff like, he just stereotyped Japanese people at work where he could get sued. Okay. Okay, right. So at this point, a week or like 3 weeks in, I've heard him say all this stuff about, basically, he doesn't really care about poor people. He doesn't care if poor people get insurance. Like, all he really cares about money is money. He talks about that like a lot, basically. I'm translating the way he talks. Right. So I get treated by the acupuncturist. She's really good at her job. I get treated by the lady chiropractor, and chiropractic, I gotta tell you, I don't have a lot of back pain. So chiropractic, I didn't feel very different when I got chiropractic services. And I also gotta say, the acupuncturist, she was so good at her job. She was so good at her job. All her patients said how amazing she was at acupuncture. Her people skills, her bedside manner, she was a spiritual person. The acupuncture felt so good. I totally recommend acupuncture. That's a different video. I can talk about how awesome acupuncture is. Don't be afraid of it. It doesn't hurt. The needles are teeny tiny. They're the size of like a fishing wire, and they feel so good. I mean, China's been using, or Asia's been using acupuncture for thousands of years, and there's a reason, because it feels so good. So the acupuncturist treats me with acupuncture. It feels so freaking good. I can't believe how amazing it feels. The lady chiropractor gives me lady chiropractic services, and then they're like, oh, you should get treated by the creepy chiropractor. And I was like, I did not want to be treated by him because he doesn't like poor people. I grew up poor. I'm middle class. I'm not going to be paying for it. He really doesn't like providing free chiropractic services because he wants to get paid. So it's like, I really don't want to do this. But then he gets his feelings hurt in weird ways. So anyway, so I feel like I have to get treated by him. And I really don't want to, but so I get to keep the job. I get treated by him. Yeah. And it's like the entire experience is highly unpleasant. I already know that he doesn't like poor people and he only cares about money. So I walk into the room and he says, welcome to the torture room. I don't like that. I think it's creepy. He would never say that to a patient, by the way. He's saying it to me because I'm a woman and I'm a receptionist and he has power over me. So he says, welcome to the torture room. That's how he laughs. And then he says, so he provides chiropractic services. I don't feel any different because I just don't. There's this move they do where they release air out of your neck. And like, for sure, like, I know he's not the kind of guy who would do a malpractice. He's smart, he's intelligent, so for sure he knows what he's doing, but his people skills are really bad and he hates poor people. Only in the Bay Area I've experienced people who just like have almost a disdain for people who make 5 figures a year. I don't understand. Okay. It's bananas. Some people, there are down-to-earth people in the Bay Area who are really nice and kind and amazing. But there is this snootiness to aspects of the Bay Area that do exist that I've never encountered anywhere else. Although I'm from Virginia, and small-town Virginia. But, okay. Okay, so he does like the little thing with my neck. It's like this swift movement. And he says, can you move your legs? And I was like, yeah. And then he says, good, I didn't paralyze you. And it's a joke. And it's really creepy. I don't like it. Because when he talks, the point of him talking is to be condescending and creepy and weird to women, to people, to all of humanity. He's always being condescending and creepy towards all humans because he's such a horrible person to me. So that was creepy. He made a joke about paralyzing me. He would never say that to a patient. But he feels totally okay saying it to me because he's such a horrible human being and I don't like him. Okay. So I really want God to punish him so bad. Like, no physical violence, but just, I want him to get what's coming to him. He's so disrespectful to all humans. But he has to be himself. That's the real punishment. I'll get to that later. And he has to walk around being him. That's its own hell. I don't know. Okay, we'll get to that later. Okay. He has to be this weird little dude. I mean, he's rich, but I don't even think he earned the money. It's his mommy and daddy's money. But okay. So, and then the other thing he does when he treats me, so I'm on my stomach, and this guy's very awkward and weird and creepy. So what I want to say, okay. So anyway, so for a split second, his hand is on my butt. I want to make that clear. And I held a Bible earlier. I'll hold a Bible again. For a split second, the creepy chiropractor had his hand on my butt. And it was creepy. It was weird and gross and creepy. And here's what I want to say is, like, because this guy's so weird, I think he's so, like, maybe it was sexual. I don't know. Because this guy's so off in some ways, like, and he's so sloppy and he has to treat a poor person and it's free services he has to provide. So him having his hand on my butt for a split second, like, it was very creepy. I didn't like it. It was disgusting. And I had a boyfriend in high school. So, we made out and stuff. So men are cool. I mean, I'm a lesbian. Men are cool, but this guy, I don't like this guy. But yeah, so his hand is on my butt for a split second. It's really creepy. But this guy's so sloppy and weird that I'm not even saying it's sexual. I think like he's so sloppy and weird that maybe he was adjusting my waist and he wasn't really paying attention to where his hand was. I don't know. And maybe I'm giving him too much a benefit of the doubt. But but it was creepy. And so the services are done. I don't feel any different because I don't have back pain. And he's like, how was it? And I have to lie and say, oh, it was really cool. And it wasn't. And he's like, yeah, and you can text me this weekend and let me know how it was. And here's the issue. That first time he treated me, he never touched my butt again. That's why I'm thinking he was just being sloppy. I don't know. But that first time he treated me, it was just me and him in the room. And the Bay Area can be very, very, very classist. Not everybody, but some people. So for me, he's a chiropractor. I mean, that don't mean shit. It means he went to school and he got a degree. It means nothing. Who fucking cares if he's a chiropractor? But in the context of classism, the lady chiropractor, the lady acupuncturist, and the dude chiropractor. The other thing I want to say about the creepy guy is he's not physically intimidating at all. At all. Like, and he's kind of sort of soft spoken. So you would never, this weird side I saw of him, you would never know it was there unless he showed it to you. And you would think this guy, because he was good at faking it. He was good at pretending like he's a person. He was good at pretending like he was a quote unquote nice guy. He was good at pretending or trying. Basically, he didn't talk a lot around the two women. And I think he was intimidated by them. Also, because he's very classist, they're the same class that he is, i.e., I'm going to call them rich people. They wouldn't say they're rich, but compared to how I grew up, they're rich people. Again, it's a Bay Area. Everyone compares themselves to Google or, these billion-dollar companies. But so they wouldn't say they're rich, but they're rich people. So, that is to say, like, because the two women, they're very attractive women. They're of the same class that he's in. They're rich people. So he wouldn't talk a lot around them, although he would. But he wouldn't get too weird with them the way he would get weird with me. So that first time he treated me, I could have talked to the two women, and I chose not to because I was like, maybe I misunderstood the butt thing, but I didn't know how to. I was afraid of getting fired because when he treated me, that was the first week or two. So I was afraid because I'm middle class and the chiropractor is a rich guy. I was afraid that if I told the two women, hey, when he treated me, it was creepy and weird and this is what happened. I was afraid if I told them that they would talk to him about it and I would get fired. And I needed the job to buy food and pay my rent. So that's why I didn't say anything. And getting treated by the chiropractor was really, 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 really horrible. But that's where I'm saying, like, there's Coke and there's Diet Coke. Like, that is to say, like, if he had done worse stuff, then I definitely would have said something. But it was like mild, weird creepiness, if we have to put a rating on creepy behavior. So for me, I was like, well, I remember thinking I can handle this, I can do this, and I need the paycheck. And that's why I do want God to punish. Well, you're going to hear the story. I kind of want God to punish all three of them, but it just put me in a horrible position because this dude is such a weird little asshole. And I need the paycheck. It's like, all right, I'm going to have to deal with this weird little asshole because he's a chiropractor. And I didn't trust the women to protect me because I know how classist the Bay Area is. Sinister capitalism. That's how sinister capitalism works. Whoever makes the most money is the person who has value, no matter how shitty they are. Okay. Right. Okay. And so the creepy chiropractor, he would have these like little temper tantrums about weird stuff. So like, he like really wanted a Rolodex, which is fine. But he's like, but that's where I just think it's stupid. He's like, well, we really need to have a Rolodex. And the acupuncturist would be like, okay, buddy, like, here's a Rolodex. So little stuff like that where the women wouldn't freak out over dumb stuff, but the creepy guy would because that's just what he does. So he was just unpleasant to be around. Oh, right. And so he would have all these like little requests about changes he wanted in the clinic, but he's like, he's like, "Oh, you should make a list." And then he's like, "And you should call a meeting and like and you should bring the stuff up on the list." And I'm the receptionist, so I pretty much have no power, but I was like, "Okay." But the women were pretty, they're adults, so the women, you could talk to them pretty straightforward. So I told the women, like, yeah, I told them everything. I was like, yeah, this guy, he wants to have a meeting. And I said, he has all this stuff that he put on a list, and he wants me to act like it's my idea. Like I told, and they're like, huh, that's weird. It's just the part where that was weird. Why does he want me to act like all these changes are my idea? I'm the receptionist. I have no opinion. You know what I mean? I'm just there to collect copays. So it was just weird. And the women were such lovely women. Like they were nice people. So it's like you could talk to them directly, but he was afraid to talk to them directly. I think that's odd, but I think he was intimidated by them because they're women and they're attractive women. I don't know. It's strange. I've never met anyone like this guy before. I didn't get it. Yeah. And so the clinic had weird dynamics, like social dynamics. So like, the lady chiropractor, like she was older, but like she would kind of act like a damsel in distress sometimes, and which is totally fine. But she'd owned this clinic for like many years. So there's still like details about the clinic she didn't know anything about them, and I just think like if you own the business, you need to know all the details, in my opinion. But yeah, and so she would act like a damsel in distress, and then the creepy chiropractor, this is where I kind of feel bad for him, but like he kept wanting to be like the big man on campus. He kept wanting to like impress like the hot ladies. Basically, he wanted the hot ladies to think he was like this really cool guy. It was kind of weird to me. Like the social dynamics were weird. So yeah, so she would act like, and in all fairness to the lady chiropractor, her business was dying because global pandemic, everyone was staying home, so and there's no foot traffic anymore as to where her clinic was, so basically her business was dying, and that really sucks. And then when I should have made more phone calls, but when I did call patients, like a lot of them were just terrified to leave their homes because it was 2020, global pandemic. So right, so like the guy kept trying to be like being like the big man on campus, so the creepy chiropractor. So he there's one thing where she's like, oh, she's losing money, what am I gonna do? He's trying to find ways to save money in the clinic, and and the dynamics, he's trying to be the knight in shining armor, and she's kind of playing the damsel in distress, and to me it's a weird dynamic. Oh right, and she would have him treat her like a lot. She's like, oh, can you treat me? And he's like, yeah, I can treat you. And so he would provide services to her, and it would make him feel good about himself. But I thought it was a weird vibe, but whatever. So one of his ideas was like, we had like 4 or 5 phone lines. She's like, let's cut some phone lines. So, let's basically take some phone lines off of the plan, and that would save the money. So they go off and do that. But the lady chiropractor doesn't know anything about her business. So then the acupuncturist comes out, and she's like, what's happening? And he's like, yeah, we cut some phone lines, save some money. And she goes over to where I'm at. She's always the acupuncturist overall in her own way was protective of me, which was really sweet of her. But she's like, listen, this phone line goes to this credit card machine, and the other phone line goes to this credit card machine, and that's why we have extra phone lines. And then the 2 chiropractors are like, oh shit. So he was trying to like be the knight in shining armor, but he like fucked up, and it's not a big deal. But then all of a sudden he looks really embarrassed in front of the 2 hot ladies because he wants to look cool in front of the hot ladies. So then like now I'm having trouble charging people in the credit card machine because they got the phone lines. So they had to get the lines back, and he had to fix it. And that was him trying to look cool in front of the hot ladies, and we're at work and none of this matters. Like we're all just here for a paycheck. So it was just weird stuff like that. And he would act very thirsty for patients. So like if we got a referral, he'd want me to call them like a lot. And you can't, to the point, you can't act too thirsty, so to speak, with your patients, because that's a turn off in anything. But you know, that was weird. Yeah, and I want to give credit to the lady chiropractor. So when we finally did drop the low paying insurance company, you know, she said, I want to give her credit. She said, what are these patients going to do? Where are they going to go? Like, she actually cared about the patients, which is really cool. She wasn't so money driven, really. It's just the global pandemic was hurting her business. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So the creepy chiropractor, very classist. So we had this patient who was a really sweet guy, really nice guy. And he came in and he would bring us food, and he was funny, and just, he was such a wonderful person. So he'd come in, he would get his services, he would leave. And one time the chiropractor, the creepy guy, he comes out and he's like, yeah, you know, sometimes you can tell when people have money and when people don't. And, you know, like, he doesn't have a lot of money. So, something to do. Oh, like, we had this, like, if we had these packages, like, if you buy like 9 or 10 sessions, all at once, like, you get a little bit of a discount, you know what I mean? So he was just saying, the creepy chiropractor was saying, like, you know, if you can tell they have a lot of money, then don't offer them a discount, like, charge more money. But, you know, like, that guy, you can tell he doesn't make a lot of money, so don't worry about it. And it was just always very condescending. Like, the condescension he had towards middle class people or poor people, it's like mind boggling to me. I've never met anyone like him before, because I grew up Baptist. I grew up going to church. Like, we were taught to care about people. We were taught to care about everybody. We were taught that everybody matters. The first shall be last, the last shall be first. That's in the Bible. So, you know, I'm not trying to convert anybody. Well, I am trying to convert everyone to empathy, and that's it. But the way this guy, he had such disdain and apathy towards middle class and poor people, and I'm middle class, so, and I grew up poor. You know, to me, it was offensive to all of humanity. I just never met someone who was so crass about class. Okay. Yeah, and that's the thing that made me feel uncomfortable about him. He was always sizing people up based on how much money they made. And I don't respect that. So if I was friends with Oprah Winfrey, and she rich. So if I was friends with Oprah Winfrey, and she's not tripping, like, let's say out of pocket, she wants to see a chiropractor, and she ain't tripping over $100, I wouldn't even recommend Oprah Winfrey go to this guy, because he objectifies people so badly. And so I was just like, I wouldn't want anyone I know going to this chiropractor, even my rich friends. And I have rich friends. I would not want them to go to this guy, because this guy objectifies people so badly. He doesn't even see the humanity in rich people. Like, they're just walking money bags. So it's baffling to me, and I don't like it. I didn't like it, because humans are people and people are humans. Yeah, other things, like, he was really bad at sales. So, like, we had these vitamins and these supplements that we sold, and they're all natural, organic, and I've done supplements before as well, and I've found them to help me out a lot too, but they tend to, you know, they're kind of pricey. So with supplements, right. So, like, the lady chiropractor, she was really good at selling supplements, and they're kind of pricey. They can be like $30, $40, but they're worth it if you can afford it. They're really good for you. Like, supplementation, they're like vitamins. They're really, really good for you. So lady chiropractor, she was really good at selling the vitamins and the supplements, because she actually cared about the well-being of her patients. So she'd be like, oh my gosh, you're going to love this supplement. It's going to make you feel so good. And she meant it. She was being sincere. You're going to love it. And the patients were like, yes, I want the supplement. They're like throwing money at me to buy the supplements, because she was just so good at explaining why they would help. And I've done supplements where I did saffron. There's a supplement called saffron, and it can make you feel happier. Saffron, the flower. And I took supplements of saffron, and it totally worked. So I felt happier. So anyway, so she was really good at selling supplements. So was the acupuncturist, because they sincerely cared about the well-being of their patients. But he, like, the patients we had at this clinic were really smart, so they can tell when he just came off like a used car salesman. Sorry to any car salesmen watching this, but he would come out like the cat that caught the canary, and he was just like skipping the chiropractor was skipping on the way to the to the counter or whatever where I was at, because like he couldn't wait to, you could see, because he makes a commission off the supplements. He gets like, I think half the money goes to him. And so he was just so excited about the money. And the patients pick up on that because they're not stupid. So one time he comes over and he's so excited about the money he's going to make off the supplements. And that, like, he's so bad with people. Like, that's how he's coming across. The patient can see it. I can see it. So he comes out. He's so excited about all the money he's going to make off the supplements. He's like, yeah, and here's some supplements. The guy, the patient wants some supplements. And I was like, so I go to ring up the patient. I was like, okay, your copay is this, and the supplement is like, they're kind of pricey, $30 or $40. And the patient's like, I don't want the supplement. And I was like, okay, cool. But it's also where the chiropractor is bad at reading people. So it's like, who knows if the patient actually wanted the supplement? You know what I mean? Because like the chiropractor just kind of talks over himself, and he just assumed the guy wanted it. I don't know. But the patient changed his mind, and I don't know, whatever. So the other thing, right. The only reason I got hired was to fill the schedule of, keep their schedules full. I didn't make as many phone calls as I should have. Like, they really wanted me to like call as many patients as possible and fill their schedules. I was really good at keeping the acupuncturist schedule full, but she was so good at her job, so it was super easy. So, but yeah, I didn't do a great job of keeping the chiropractic schedule full. I don't think that's entirely my fault. I was competing with the global pandemic, and the creepy chiropractor's creepy. So, I felt horrible when I got treated by him. So I was marketing a horrible product. It was easy to market the acupuncturist because she was so good at her job. Her schedule was so full. I was great at filling her schedule because she was so good at her job. So it was a better product, basically, if we're talking marketing terms. So her schedule was so full. She's like, you know what? I think she was coming in twice a week. She's like, I think I'm going to come in like 3 or 4 times a week because like I'm getting a lot of patients, So because she was so good at her job, like it was like giving candy to people who like candy, which is everybody. So the other thing I want to say is like the chiropractor kind of cared about money, but again, I feel like more of the dynamics was he was embarrassed that his schedule was so empty, and he was blaming me. And I got to tell you, it was not my fault. Like it was maybe 25%. Maybe I should have been making more phone calls, but when I would call, like people were terrified of leaving their house. But I think like, again, it's just, he wanted the hot ladies to think he's cool. Like it was so weird, but he's embarrassed that his schedule's empty because it makes him, he doesn't want to look bad in front of the hot ladies. Like it was more social dynamics. Like it didn't seem to really be about the money, and he would pick and choose when he cared about money and when he didn't. So it was weird. It was weird, and I didn't like it. Yeah, his instructions would change a lot. Like he was all over the place, but I don't think he could handle being around hot ladies. I really think that's it. I really think that's it. Okay. Yeah, because here's what I'm going to say. Like I said, like, if Michelle Pfeiffer or Lucy Liu had a clinic together, that's basically like these women were very attractive. So, and it's not a big deal. It's just whatever. But this guy, I want to say, he didn't like, if you think of like Brad Pitt or Will Smith or Jason Momoa, or these people are kind of paid professionally to be attractive, you know what I mean? And they're really good actors. I want to say that they're very talented. But what I want to say about this like weird creepy guy, like he didn't exactly look like Jason Momoa or Will Smith or whatever. And it doesn't matter. Like I don't look like a runway model or whatever, but I love myself and I like my face. So it doesn't matter. But like I think with this creepy guy, like I think he felt insecure around the hot ladies. He didn't have to feel insecure because he's a grown up and we're at work and no one's here to be a runway model. We're all just here to, you know what I mean? It's not a job based on looks, but anyway, whatever. So, I think he felt insecure a little bit about what he looked like. And like, if he was a nicer guy, if he said nice things, if he cared about the well-being of humanity, like if he was just a nicer guy, you could say like he's cute, you know what I mean? You could say like, okay, this guy's kind of cute, you know what I mean? Or you could even say this guy's handsome, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter if he doesn't exactly look like Jason Momoa or Will Smith or whatever. You could say he was cute, but anyway, whatever. So but anyway, I really think that that's a lot of his weirdness around the women. It's like he felt insecure around hot ladies. Like maybe he didn't get a lot of attention from women in high school. I don't know, but he just seemed to be weird around women. So or hot women or whatever. And we're all beautiful, we're all sexy, like whatever, it doesn't matter. But it's just this dude was so weird. Oh right, so the reason I bring it up with the creepy chiropractor is like the rules would change a lot. So like, and he was always trying to. He just never seemed confident or comfortable in the clinic. So anyway, whatever, the rules would change. Like he would, one time the patient came and he wanted to pay for his session before he went into before he had the treatment or whatever. So the patient, I'm sitting there like collecting the payment, and the chiropractor's, the creepy guy's just standing there, and it's not even a big deal. But the creepy guy's feeling awkward. It doesn't have to be awkward, but the creepy guy's feeling awkward because he has to wait 5 minutes for me to swipe the card and collect the payment. And because the patient wanted to pay first. And the patient, so anyway, it's very stupid. All of this is very stupid. So whatever, I collected the payment while the chiropractor stood there, and the chiropractor afterwards was like, so I don't have to like sit there and like stand there, like only collect their payments like after the session. And I was like, okay, but it's just, he would make mountains out of molehills, and it was just weird and stupid. So the other thing he wanted me to do was walk the patients. He wanted me to go ahead and send the patients into the rooms, which is not a big deal. So I would walk the patients to the rooms where they get treatments. Not a big deal, but just little stuff like that. He'd always want changes where the women were more consistent and more laid back, and they weren't so like, with the creepy guy, he was always like this. His energy was always like, he was just, he just never seemed very comfortable in his own skin, even though everyone at the clinic was super nice. But the women were just a lot more comfortable with who they were as people. So there wasn't such like finickiness, you know what I mean? Yeah, the creepy guy was unpleasant to be around too. Right, okay, so another thing the chiropractor did that was creepy is when he interviewed me, he asked me, he said, do you have a boyfriend or do you have a husband? By the way, I don't know if that's illegal. I'm pretty sure it's illegal, but I was a recruiter where I interviewed people for a company I worked at, and my boss was very aware of all the laws. So it is creepy that he asked me if I had a boyfriend or a husband. That's none of his business. Also, I'm gay, so he assumed I was straight. And then I had just encountered homophobia at the physical therapy clinic. So I didn't say I was gay in the interview because I wanted to get hired and because I needed money to buy food and pay my rent. So when he said, do you have a husband or a boyfriend? I said, I was surprised he asked me. It's none of his business. He asked me that in a job interview. Pretty sure that's against the law. Not saying it's worth a lawsuit, but it's a creepy question. And all I said was no, but also it's none of his fucking business. And then he says, and I just want to say, I was a recruiter. If I ever asked somebody, I interviewed men and women, but if I ever asked them if they had a boyfriend or a husband, like my boss would have, I was going to say my boss would have killed me, but no, not literally. My boss was a nice guy. He would never kill anybody, but he would have been really angry at me. He would have been like, Julie, what the fuck? Why would you ask that in an interview? Like, because he knew all the laws. So that's a weird question to ask. Not even saying that he was interested in me. You know what I mean? It's just, it's irrelevant. If I have a husband or a boyfriend, that's 1,000% irrelevant as to whether I can be a receptionist. So then the creepy chiropractor, he asked me if I had any kids. Pretty sure that's also illegal. Like with employment discrimination, it doesn't matter if someone has kids. Like Doesn't matter. You can't decide I'm not going to hire this person because they have kids. That's so against the law. So yeah, that was the other thing he did though. It was creepy because it all starts adding up. All the weirdness adds up. Okay. Anyway, I do remember, and I shouldn't have had to have asked this, but I remember asking the acupuncturist. I was like, hey, what do I do if I experience sexual harassment? Because I've had 3 other jobs where same deal. It's like, again, same deal. You know, there's Coke, there's Diet Coke. It's like diet harassment. It's like, you know what I mean? It's, anyway, I had a boss who tried to make out with me one time. I was not into her. I am gay, but I was not attracted to her, and she was my boss. I did not want to make out with her. And she left slobber on my face, and I didn't want to, I didn't want to make out with her. I liked making out with my girlfriend when we were girlfriends. We broke up, but I loved making out with my girlfriend. She was great, but I did not want to make out with my boss. So I had a boss who tried to make out with me and left slobber on my face. It was gross. And anyway, so I've had, mild sexual harassment, like, but anyway, so I asked the acupuncturist, I was like, hey, what do I do if like there's any kind of sexual harassment stuff? And the acupuncturist is like, oh, just tell me, and we'll take the right action. By the way, I shouldn't have to ask that. That is to say, because I ended up working at a lawyer's office. When I worked at a lawyer's office, they document everything because they're lawyers. So when I worked at a lawyer's office, the first thing they handed me, and it was amazing, was the sexual harassment laws in California. And they're supposed to do that. And I read the laws, and they're like, they basically tell you what the laws are and the actions you can take if you feel like you've dealt with harassment. So, because lawyers document everything. Also, their company manual was like so thick. It was like 3 or 4 inches thick. It was huge. The manual of how their company ran, because they're lawyers, they document everything because you need documentation in court. The other thing the creepy chiropractor would do, again, it's like diet weirdness versus Coke versus Diet Coke, but he was like, it was a really big clinic, and he had his own desk where he could sit down. But anyway, so I'm at my desk, and there is a huge barrier at my desk, which is good. The physical barrier protected me, but he would stand at the barrier, and he would. And listen, I just gotta say this to men. It's creepy when this happens. It just is. And I know men don't know what it's like to be women. Let me just say this. It's hard to be a woman. I like being a woman, but it comes with its own challenges. It really does. I wish every man in the world had to be a woman for at least a week, and they could understand what it's like. Because I think some men just don't get it. Men are great. Men are awesome. I love men. I just wish they understood what it's like to be a woman. Sometimes they just don't get it. But the creepy chiropractor, so he would stand at the barrier, and there was the dust barrier between us, thank God, but he would lean towards me, and he did this on a regular basis, and it was creepy. This guy just wouldn't leave me alone. So he's just standing there scrolling or drawing or whatever, and he's not, anyway, but he would lean like this, and he's not. But it's a really big clinic. There's so many different places he could be standing, and he would do this on a regular basis, and it did creep me out because it's not necessary, and he has power over me, and boundaries are important, and I just don't want this guy standing so close to me because it does creep me out. It does make the hair on my skin stand up. By the way, I also want to say for the record, like, I've had heterosexual male coworkers, I have some now, who are amazing, lovely, awesome, fantastic people who don't creep me out at all. And one of my best bosses was a straight white guy who was like the best boss I've ever had in my entire life. He would do the leaning thing, but he wasn't creepy, but he would just like, we'd be working on a computer thing, and he'd get really into what we were, and he'd get closer, and maybe it was an eyesight thing. But to give this boss credit, when he'd do the leaning thing, he did it to my supervisor, who was a woman. She would just be like, dude. And he's like, oh, I'm doing the leaning thing. And she would say, yeah, like, stop it. And he's like, sorry. And he would like back off. And he got it. He was such a great guy when it came to stuff like that. Like, he understood, like, yeah, I'm kind of leaning. He was just trying to look at the computer screen closer. He wasn't trying to be a creep. But like if she called him out on the leaning thing, he would be like, "Oh yeah, ugh, my bad," and he would stand by. He was not creepy at all. So props to him for understanding the leaning thing is unpleasant. But the creepy chiropractor would do the leaning thing. He did it on a regular basis. It's a really big clinic. There's so many places in the clinic he could be standing. I didn't like it. It creeped me out. You put it all together. It was too much. Right. So eventually, like, this guy is really getting to me. I'm trying to, and it's hard. It's hard because, like, if it was more blatant, straightforward sexual harassment, then I have something to tell people. You know what I mean? But it's basically this dude's just kind of weird, right? So I didn't like how to explain. It was just hard because, you know, it's like Coke versus Diet Coke. It was Diet Coke. How do I explain this to people? Anyway, so I tried to tell it kind of came up with the two women. I was like, you know, Thursdays are my toughest days because he won't leave me alone. He's always talking to me. And it's kind of like I'm babysitting. That's what I said. You know, it's just like, which is true. He's always correcting me. He's inconsistent. Like, I remember telling the two women, and I was hoping they would catch it. I was hoping they'd ask, "What do you mean he talks to you a lot? Like, what do you mean?" I was hoping they would catch, like, this guy, he's on me too much. You know what I mean? He's not giving healthy boundaries. So I was hoping they would catch it, and they didn't. They're like, "Ha ha ha, that's so funny that it's like babysitting. Men are silly." And I was like, you know, but it is hard to explain because it's basically he's just, at the end of the day, he's just talking to me too much. Those are the facts. But the things he's saying he's an unpleasant person to be around. So we have a meeting. This is like the week prior to my last week working there. We have a meeting, and I talk to the acupuncturist, who's like the nice lady, and I say, "Hey, nice lady, do you mind like giving him a little more attention? If you give him a little more attention, he'll like leave me alone, like not talk to me so much. I don't have to hear his like weird jokes. He won't be on me so much, like talking to me so much." I was like, "Do you mind giving him some attention and that kind of thing? If you give him attention, he'll like lay off me a little bit." Yeah, and yeah, because clingy, that's the word. There's a clinginess to the energy. Like he's being clingy with me, and it feels unpleasant and it's unnecessary because I'm just there to collect copays. There's a lot of me hearing his weird jokes. He talks to me when he doesn't have to be talking to me. It's just too much. So the word clingy, he's being very clingy towards me. And it's hard. It's hard to, how do you even explain that? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. How do you say stop? Basically, could he talk to me less? And I understand the predicament. Because if he's the chiropractor, and then I guess he can talk to me whenever he wants. I just wish he wasn't so weird, his personality. So it's tough because it wasn't like straightforward, blatant harassment. I don't know. So I say, "Hey, do you mind, like, could you just talk to him a little bit more?" Because like also he seems like neglected. It seems like he was neglected as a child. Like it seems like he wants a lot of attention from women. To me, he wants feminine divine acceptance, and it's like, what? I know you're like, what is that? But it's just like, seems like what he wants from the hot ladies is validation. He wants, you know, like I said before. And so seems like because sometimes I feel like I'm his mommy, and he just wants lots and lots of feminine divine acceptance. He wants a lot of female validation. You know, he's definitely a straight guy. Gay guys don't have those kind of hang-ups about women, but he just really wants women to think he's really cool. Like, because one time he got this new mask, you know what I mean? And he was like, he was looking at me all vulnerable, like he wasn't sure if the mask looked good. And I was like, "Dude, yeah, the mask looks great, you know, there buddy, you good," you know, like giving him the validation. But it was too much. It was too much because I'm trying to learn all the insurances, I'm trying to take care of the patients, I'm trying to help the women. So it's just too much. It was too much considering I'm making like $19 an hour, which is a good wage. No insurance. It's like it's like I'm his therapist, I'm his life, you know, I'm just there to collect copays. It's too much. Okay, the cleanliness was too much. Anyway, so I asked, "Hey, can you be nice? Do you mind like giving him attention?" giving him a little more attention, because then he'll lay off me a little bit. He won't be on me so much, correcting me every 5 seconds inconsistently where it doesn't make any sense. But and she says like, she's like, yeah, I'll talk to him more, like it's not a big deal, just chit chat. And the thing about the acupuncturist, when she was being charming, and when she treated me, she would always be very charming. So when she was charming, she was really charming, very charismatic. She could totally be an actor if she wanted to be an actor. But when she was being serious, she could be like very serious, which totally makes sense. She's like focusing and being serious, and then they have to type notes that they send to the insurance companies to get paid. So when she was focused, she'd be very serious and focused. But anyway, so then I asked her, hey, if you give him a little more attention, he'll be less creepy and weird to me. And she's like, okay, I'll do it, And then, so the next week she goes to talk to him, but I think her instincts were telling her this guy's a little off too, because she's talking to him and she's chit-chatting about her favorite restaurant or something like that. But she's not being charming. She's not giving him, and it's stupid because he's an adult, but she's not giving him like the validation he needs to like function as a person. So I was like, oh, she's not doing it. She's not getting it. Like, she's not turning on the charm. She's like, yeah, like I think her instincts were telling her, because she was always standoffish with the creepy chiropractor. So I think same deal, because she's a smart lady. I think her instincts were telling her this guy's a little weird. So she was kind of keeping her distance from him. So she's making chit chat with him, but she's not being very charming. And I was like, that's not going to work. He's still going to be weird towards me all day. So what I do, I was like, she didn't do it, but that's okay. She doesn't get it. And it is hard to explain. So I go into the back room and I'm like, hey, buddy, talking to the creepy chiropractor. I was like, hey, buddy, you got this. You're going to do great today. And I pat him on the shoulder and like, yeah, you're going to do great. And giving him the validation he needs to be like, to function as a person. And it did work. Like, doing that, like he came out of the back room like all happy, and he was happy and smiling at me, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna do great today. And it like totally worked, and he was less shitty to me that day. That was really good. He wasn't being so whatever, but he still was talking to me a lot where he didn't need to. I still had to hear all his weird jokes. The thing I'm happy about is after I talk about this, I don't ever have to talk about this again. Okay. Right. So this is the day I pat him on the shoulder. I'm like, yeah, dude, you're going to do great. And he was less shitty that day. He got the validation he was looking for. And, I feel bad for him. Like, he's just a dude who wants women to think he's cool. Like, that's what's happening. But in the context of a workplace, he's driving me crazy, and he is being inappropriate. He just needs to talk to me less, basically, and not be an asshole. But okay. So this is the day I pat him on the shoulder. I tell him, you're going to do a great job. He's in a room where he's treating a patient. It's right next to an acupuncturist. So their rooms are right next to each other, and they're treating their patients. And after they're done, the acupuncturist takes the creepy chiropractor aside, and she says to him, hey, remember when we had a meeting? Do you mind treating your patient in a different room that's further away, because I can hear what you're saying, and it kind of really hurts. It hurts the experience of the acupuncture if we are in rooms that are really close to each other. And she brought that up at the meeting the prior week, and he was like, yeah, totally, I can totally do that. And because he would always act like really, he would act like really cool and confident and smooth around the women. He was lying, he's pretending, but okay. Because he would act really fidgety and antsy around me. So it was very different. And also one time when I was in a meeting in the back room with the acupuncturist, he was kind of afraid of the acupuncturist because she would stand up for herself, and she was really smart, and she was really good at her job. He knew she was good at her job, and because he only cares about money-ish, kind of, depending on the day, he knew, like, he needed her. He needed her because she brings in patients, i.e. money, and then she can refer those patients to him and he gets money. So as far as chiropractic appointments. So all right, this is an example of him being weird. So I was talking to the acupuncturist very clearly, and he had gone to the bathroom, and I was like, hey, by the way, I don't know, it was some stupid request, but I was being very direct, like, hey, the chiropractor wants you to blah, 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 blah. It was very direct or whatever. And she's like, yeah, okay, sure. But he's coming in, and I'm talking very directly. He's coming into the clinic, and he's looking at me, and he's like, oh, what? He's like freaking out because I'm speaking to her directly about a thing he wanted. I forget what, but it was something stupid, but whatever. That's what he wanted. But so again, he's looking at me. I can see him in the other room freaking out, like, because I'm using direct communication. I'm talking to the acupuncturist, like, oh, by the way, the chiropractor, he wants blah, blah, blah. So he's freaking out like that. But by the time he walks into the room that me and the acupuncturist are in, he's like acting all confident. He's like, yeah, I heard the whole thing, and like, yeah, for sure. I mean, that's just an example of I got his weird fidgety side and they got his like confident side, and it was weird. It was weird. Okay. All right. So the day I pat him on the shoulder and tell him he's going to do it a good job. So, all right. So the acupuncturist asked him, hey, can you treat your patient in a different room that's further away? That way we don't hear everything you're saying in the acupuncturist room. So she makes a very simple request, and then he comes up to me, and that's the thing that sucks too, is like he'd only be weird with me when no one was around. I mean, it sucked. So he would come up to me and he said, Julie, he's like, he looks at me and he says, she wants me to treat my patients like really far away from her. And he looks like he's about to cry. Like, he looks like he got his feelings hurt. And then he looks at me like he's about to cry for a couple seconds. And then he's like, nah, 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 nah. And he's like, nah, I'm just joking. Like, he was pretending to be sad. But y'all, here's the deal. Like I said, the acupuncturist, she's a sexy lady. Like, I'm keeping her real. So it's like, I want to explain something. She hurt his feelings. So that's like if, I'm sorry, it's like he got rejected by Lucy Liu. You know what I'm saying? Like, he got his feelings hurt. A hot lady rejected him. That's how he feels. Like, and that's where the two women, like, they're straight ladies. They don't get what it's like to be attracted to women. I'm a lesbian. I get it, but I don't get my feelings hurt like that. Cause I'm 39. Whatever. So, I ask somebody out and they're like, sure, then awesome. If I ask someone out and they're like, nah, I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm going to move on with my life. But this guy got his feelings hurt because a hot lady rejected him. So that's where, the acupuncturist, and at this point, the women are tired of hearing, I don't know, whatever. The women, whatever. So I tell the acupuncturist, I'm like, hey, like, you hurt his feelings, is what I tell the acupuncturist. And then the acupuncturist is like, she's getting mad. She's getting irritated by the situation. And here's where the two women are classist, because they don't really want to hear about it. Like, they don't want to hear that he's weird. And this is where they're kind of assholes, because it's like, hey, if he's weird, like, the vibe is kind of like, hey, if this creepy guy's weird, sucks to be you, Julie. Then that's fucked up, because they have power, they're rich. All they really have to do is find a diplomatic way to tell this guy to, like, dude, like, cut it out, stop being weird. So, but whatever. So I tell the acupuncturist, like, because I feel so uncomfortable around this creepy guy. I really want these women to save me or help me, or like, please help me. Like, please, like, back me up a little. And they're really not. They're not. So I tell the acupuncturist, I'm like, hey, like, you hurt his feelings. Like, when you told him to, like, go work in another room. And, like, she's irritated. She's angry at this point. She's like, I told him to do this last week. What do you mean his feelings are hurt? And I was like, he just made a comment to me about it. And she's, like, really angry. But they're also, like, classist, right? So, and they don't understand the dynamics of weird dudes. They also don't understand, they have high self-esteem, but they're both straight ladies. They don't understand how attractive they are. It's not a big deal, but weird dudes don't know how to like keep it together around hot ladies. So they don't understand, like, her rejecting him. It's again, like, I'm saying Lucy Liu for a reason, because she gets cast in, she's a really good actress, and she tends to get cast in very sexy roles, you know what I mean? She's a Charlie's Angel and all that kind of stuff. So when I'm saying he got his feelings hurt, yeah, it's the equivalent to this weird little dude. It's the equivalent of Lucy Liu rejecting him, you know what I mean? Or like Michelle Pfeiffer, like, also a sexy woman. So yeah, this dude got his feelings hurt. So, because he's a weird little dude. So, but the actor, she's tired of hearing about it. And the issue is, and I guess because I'm middle class and whatever, it's like, but why do I have to deal with this weird side? You know what I mean? It's like, that's the part that's not fair, because it is classism. It's like, if you're, like with acupuncture, it's like, if you hate hearing about all his weird little shit stuff, why do I have to deal with it? You know what I mean? And it's like, y'all won't back me up, you won't help me, and I just want them, can't they find a way to tell him, like, dude, like, you got, leave Julie alone so she can do her job. That's all. You know what I mean? Just leave her alone. Like, stop the fucking weird jokes. So anyway, so the acupuncturist, she's like, I just told him that, you know, and they're kind of like not believing me, but they don't want to deal with it because they're rich and they don't have to deal with it if they don't want to. And there's a little bit of a vibe like, sucks to be you, Julie. You're the receptionist. You have to deal with the shitty dude. We're not going to help you. SOL, stuck on a ladder. So, and when I tell the acupuncturist, the lady chiropractor's there, who I think, and I think she's a misogynist. I'm keeping it real. I think she thinks, you know, she grew up in a culture, most cultures are patriarchy, so she grew up in a culture where men are more important than women, you know? So the lady chiropractor, she's like, she looks at me, they're gaslighting me. These two bitches are gaslighting me, so excuse my language, but so the acupuncturist is just irritated, so she doesn't want to deal with it. She doesn't want to deal with this weird little dude. So, but I have to deal with it. I have to be his mommy, his girlfriend, his fucking therapist, his fucking, because here's what irritates me. Like, he's rich. He's got the resources to deal with this shit. Like a therapist or, I don't know, dude. Like, you gotta find a way to get it together. If you can't handle being in a clinic with two hot ladies, then you maybe go to a different clinic where people are ugly. Just kidding. Everyone's beautiful, but whatever, like, this guy's rich. Why do I have to deal with this shit? You know what I mean? So but the lady chiropractor who is a misogynist, I come to find out, very misogynist. But the lady chiropractor, she's like, no, Julie, no, he's stronger than that. He's stronger than that. And I'm just like, no, he's not. No, he's not. I work with this guy I was this dude's fucking therapist for 6 weeks. He is not stronger than that, 1. 2, and to give him credit or whatever, and I'm a lesbian, I get it. I know what it's like to be attracted to women. I get it. He wants Lucy Liu to think he's cool. That's it. That's all that's happening. He wants this hot lady to think he's cool. It's not even about sex. It's just about, like, he wants the hot lady to think he's like the coolest dude ever. That's what he wants. So it just, him getting his feelings hurt by a hot lady, that doesn't even make him weak. It just makes him a heterosexual man. I'm not even saying he's weak, but I can laugh about this now because it's 2022, but in 2020 it's just like, with these two straight ladies, I was like, you've never met a man before? I don't understand what's happening. But they didn't get how hot they were. And not that it matters. They did not get how attractive they were. Because they're just like regular sweet people. But I'm saying Michelle Pfeiffer and Lucy Liu for a reason. Okay. But we're all beautiful. We're all sexy. Blah, blah, blah. World peace. So So anyway, like the acupuncturist, she's angry. The lady chiropractor's like, no, he's stronger than that, Julie. He's stronger than that, because she's a misogynist and she glorifies men, or she thinks men are better than women. And I was like, no, he's not. Like, and he's kind of a weird little dude, you know. So the acupuncturist, she goes and talks to him again. She's like, hey, I just want to let you know, like, you know, she tries to explain it again, like why she wants him in a different room, because basically it's just, you know, she just wants it to be nice and quiet for the patients. And and the creepy little dude comes up to me again, and he's like, she wants me to treat outside of the clinic, and you know, and then he does this and maybe he's joking, maybe he's just joking, but I don't think so, y'all. I don't think so. I think he got his feelings hurt. I don't like him. I don't like this guy. So, but I have to hear all his stupid jokes. Okay. So this is the day where the other thing is, like, we had a patient come in. The patient is like a really great guy, like a really funny guy. And at this point, I'm supposed to walk the patients to the rooms. That's what the creepy guy told me to do. So I walked the patient to the room. The patient's very talkative. It's hard to get out of a conversation with the patient. So the patient's being very talkative. So I'm sitting there and listening, and I'm looking for an opening for where I can walk out of the room, you know, respectfully. And I finally get an opening, and I get out of the room. And then this is the same day where the acupuncturist hurt his feelings. So that day, same day. So, you know, he's made 2 comments about the acupuncturist. Like, y'all, he had a thing about the acupuncturist. I don't know what it was. They were kind of similar in age. Like, I don't know. But the acupuncturist, like, the lady chiropractor would kiss his ass, basically. Like, she would really kiss his ass. So he got the validation he needed from her. But the lady acupuncturist, okay. So, yeah, I don't know, like, he would, but whatever. So this is the same day he made the 2 comments about the lady acupuncturist. So anyway, I walk the patient to the patient room, and then I go and sit down at my clinic at my desk, and then the creepy chiropractor comes up to me, and he's like, oh, you know, are you gonna make him tea and cookies too? And y'all the vibe of it, and I know this sounds strange, and again, I can hold up my Bible again, because it's weird. I'm gonna hold up my Bible again, and he's married, and he seems happily married, but the vibe of it is like, he's coming off like a jealous boyfriend, and it's really fucking weird. It's weird, because, like, we're at work, and I'm not looking for romance at work. And I'm walking the dude back to the room because he told me to do that. Like, I'm doing, and the guy's talkative, and everyone said he was talkative. Like, every time he got treated, everyone was like, that dude likes to talk. The patient, he's just very talkative. But anyway, but yeah, like I said, like the creepy chiropractor, when he said, like, you know, you're gonna make him tea and cookies too, like, he's coming off like a jealous boyfriend. Like, it was so fucking weird. So I was like, and what do you do with that? Like, that's the other thing, is like, I don't know, is that sexual? You know, it's not sexual harassment, it's just weirdness. I can laugh about it now in 2022, but in 2020 it was driving me bananas, and I didn't know what to do, and he'd only be weird with me. God, it sucked. So anyway, so it was the same day. He said to me the weird comments about the acupuncturist. He made that weird comment about the tea and cookies, and he's talking to me all day, but he's at least not being too shitty, because I literally patted him on the back. But then at the end of the day, he comes up to me. He's going to correct me on something. And he comes up to me, and this is after like 6 weeks of weird behavior, like him trying to talk shit about the ladies the whole time, blah blah blah. So he comes up to me, and I say, he starts to correct me on something stupid. Sorry, but it was stupid. I'd only been there 6 weeks. I was still learning the job, you know, so he was just being dumb. But he came up to correct me about something, and he wouldn't leave me alone. He wouldn't, like, that's the other thing, like, if you could just leave me alone and let me do the job. But So he comes up to me and he's about to correct me on something, and I surprised myself because I was being so diplomatic towards everybody. I tried to, I remember telling the acupuncturist one time, I was like, hey, the creepy chiropractor, like, he's really cool, but like, he talks too much, ... And I was hoping she would catch that. I was hoping she'd be like, what do you mean he talks too much? Like, I kept trying to get them to like catch the bait, but they are classes. They don't give no fucks. They don't give no fucks if he's weird to me. They don't want to deal with it because they're assholes, because they're rich assholes. Okay. So anyway, whatever. So yeah, this is the day. 2 weird comments about the acupuncturist, the weird tea and cookies comment. He goes to correct me about something. It's the end of the day, and I snap at him. And I snap. This is what I did. I said, stop. I said it like that. There's anger in my voice. I said, stop. I said, this is too much. Stop. You have to stop. That's all I said. And he stood back, and I was like, and he went to the bathroom. The acupuncturist comes out, and I said, he won't leave me alone. That's what I said to that guy won't leave me alone. He will not leave me alone. He will not leave me alone. The weird fucking jokes, the standing really close to me. Oh, the other thing he would do while I was talking, there's a back room. He would stare at me during and granted, I'm talking, but y'all, this dude was fucking weird. He would be in the back room, and I'm talking to a patient, and he has his own desk, the creepy chiropractor. He could be reading, he could be doing something, but he would like stare like this while I'm talking. So, I mean, I get it, he's just listening to what I'm saying, but it's just another thing where it's like the clinginess. He's too clingy. This dude wouldn't leave me alone. He wouldn't leave me alone. Oh my God, he drove me fucking crazy. So, I'm just the receptionist. I'm just the receptionist. I'm just there to collect copies and go home. Oh my God, this fucking weirdo. So he leaves the bathroom. He goes to the bathroom. The acupuncturist comes out. I'm like, this guy won't leave me alone. He will not leave me alone, is what I said to the acupuncturist. He won't leave me alone, is what I said. He just won't leave me alone, and whatever. So she's like, hey, let's set up a meeting. Let's talk to the lady chiropractor. Like, let's talk about this. Let's see what's going on. Like, let's set up a meeting. Okay. So the creepy guy comes in, the creepy chiropractor comes back in, and he comes up to me and he's like, oh, Julie, can we talk? And he's being very vulnerable. And I would say, I think I already said he is not physically intimidating at all. He's kind of soft-spoken. So he comes up to me. He still creeped me out, but he comes up to me. He's like, hey, Julie, this is after I've snapped at him. He's like, hey, can we come back? Can we talk in the back? At this point, I am feeling the emotion of anger. Like, I know I am. So I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And I'm saying no over and over again. I do not want to go in the back room and talk to you. I don't want to, because I already snapped at him. I'm a middle-class person who snapped at a rich person. So that shit could get me killed. I'm just kidding. I'm being dramatic. But, rich people can, like, destroy somebody if they want to, because they got the money to do it. So, because I'm already a woman, a middle-class person, and I snapped at like an chiropractor. So it's like, I shouldn't have done that. You know what I mean? But in hindsight, like, what are you going to do? Because I tried 3 or 4 times diplomatically to get these women to protect me, and they never did, because they're rich assholes. So this creepy chiropractor, so he's asking me 2 or 3 times, can we go back? And he's being vulnerable, but at this point I feel the emotion and anger. So he's like, can we go in the back and talk? Like, can we talk in the back? Can we talk in the back? And I'm like, no, I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk. Let's talk on Monday. I do not want to talk. I don't want to, like, that means we have to be in a room alone together. I don't want to do this. So I'm saying, no. He's asking. It's just another example of him being horrible with boundaries. So we go in the back. I was like, fine, okay, fine. And I get it, like sometimes he comes off like a little kid, but it's the thing he never caught on. None of these rich assholes caught on. Y'all are rich. You have resources. You have money. I'm the fucking receptionist who needs. But luckily, like, I had a lot, not a lot, but I had enough in savings. Like, I was okay, but they never caught on that we're not financial equals. That's why there's unemployment laws. Y'all are rich. Y'all can really fuck me over if you want to. And they did. But anyway, that's the part they never understood because they're so fucking privileged. Whatever. So I go in the back room and I do talk to the chiropractor, and to give him credit, he apologized in his own little way. He's like, he said, I know that like my rules are very different than the women's rules, which is true. They both had very different vibes in the same clinic. So he's like, yeah, I know my rules are very different than your rules. And like, so I know, I should talk to them more rather than like throwing everything on you. Like, I want to give him credit. Like, he was kind of apologizing in his own way. But the issue was him being picky about how to run the company. That's fine. Like, it was annoying and it sucked and I hated it, but that's fine because that's work related. Like, he was so uptight about everything, like Rolodex and all that shit. But it's fine, whatever. He wanted to charge an extra $25, whatever. All the weird business stuff he wanted to do, fine, it's business. But the creepy weird stuff, like, that part, I didn't know how to say, like, dude, like, you get weird. Like, you're weird, whatever. So, what do you say? How do you say that? Okay. Yeah, he apologizes. Okay, so here's what happens. So I tell the acupuncturist, I'm like, yo, like, he won't leave me alone and the rules always change. So we have a meeting and it's like, we have a meeting where it's just me and the two ladies. And here's what I did so this clinic, it had like a lot of Buddhist stuff in it, like statues of Buddha and that kind of thing. And the clinic also had a lot of references like Judaism, and Buddhism and Judaism are both like really beautiful, wonderful religions. So I thought that meant like that the clinic was like, this is very naive of me, that the clinic was like this spiritual sacred place. And I got to tell you, the acupuncturist was really good at her job. So like, getting acupuncture, there's tons of science that explains why acupuncture works. And then here's a book, The Web That Has No Weaver, Understanding Chinese Medicine. I totally recommend this book. But it's all about like the science of why acupuncture works and Chinese medicine in general. It's about the science of it. But it also just felt spiritual because you're meditating while you have the acupuncture. So it was really cool. So I thought it was like the safe spiritual place. That's very naive of me to think that. And I remember seeing all the references to Judaism, and I thought that was really cool. There's like different like things in the clinic that reference Judaism, and I was like, cool. I assumed that the clinic was like this ethical spiritual place. That's very naive of me to think that. Anyway, so I talked to the acupuncturist. So because I thought we were one big happy family, that's so naive of me. But because I thought we were one big happy family, and like, so I go to have the meeting with the two women, and I think I'm in a safe space, which is naive. And here's the deal. So I spent 6 weeks trying to protect the women from this dude's weird, mean, creepy side. So I didn't tell them that he tries to talk shit about them and make fun of them a lot, which is very mean-spirited and stupid. I didn't tell them that because I wanted to protect them from the creepy guy's shittiness. But also I didn't throw him under the bus too much because it was really important. He really wanted the hot ladies to be impressed by him. So I didn't want him to look too shitty. And then also, I know like him putting his hand on my butt, I get there's worse things happening in the world, but I also want to say I didn't report that because that's still a very serious accusation. And again, I know worse things happen in the world. Like, I know there's way worse. I have friends who are victims of rape and sexual assault and child abuse, and I was, as a child, I dealt with abuse, so I know there's worse things happening in the world. But in the context of this clinic, like me saying like he put his hand on my butt during a chiropractic treatment, like I know that's he only did it once, and I still know that's kind of a serious thing to say about somebody. So it's like I I don't know. So I didn't say about any of the weird, and also this dude, there's a vulnerability to him. It's like, it almost felt like he was like my weird little brother. I don't fucking know. I don't have brothers, but like I felt bad for him for being like so insecure. I don't know. So I was protecting all three of them. Why? So when we had the meeting, I stuck to like more work related stuff. I explained about the story about how he turned the guy away for being 20 minutes late, and they were horrified. And I just explained like, but I get how it's confusing. So I said it's hard to keep his schedule full. And then I said, like, he corrects me a lot in ways that's very confusing. So, oh, right. He would just get weird. Like I would talk about how great the clinic was, and he owned another clinic. So he would get mad and be like, you don't have to talk about how great this clinic is, like, it's not like it's some big clinic. I don't know. It was weird shit like that. And so I just said, like, and he would be very controlling on what I would say. And I'm good at marketing, so I wasn't saying anything too bananas, but he's like, no, you don't have to say like this. Like, he's basically giving me line readings. Like, if you're directing a movie, an actor tells, which is fine, but it's also whatever. So I remember I told him, like, yeah, he's just like very controlling on what I say. And oh, the other thing is, like, he'd want me to so if he did something shitty, he'd want me to take the hits and act like it was my idea. Cause he's like, he would want the patients mad at me rather than mad at him. Yeah. And so I remember that. So I'd have to say the patient, which is stupid cause I don't have any power. So I know. He wanted me to act like I had complete power over the schedule, and I don't. Because like, it was kind of weird. It didn't make any sense. But like, sometimes he'd want a 1 hour lunch break, which is totally fine. There's, you know what I mean? Like, it's okay to want a 1 hour lunch break. That's not a big deal. But he'd want me to, like, it was weird. It's weird. He wanted me to act like I had complete control over his schedule, and I don't. So, oh, that's right. So he would want me. That's right. So what would happen is, with the acupuncturist, she didn't care. So with the acupuncturist, like, before I gave away one of her break times or one of her lunch breaks, she'd be like, please ask me first, like, and maybe I can move something around. So a patient was like, I don't know. So I remember asking the acupuncturist, I was like, hey, this patient really wants to come in tomorrow, but the only thing open is your lunch break. So what do you want me to do? And she's like, it's fine. Like, or she's like, or sometimes she'd be like, oh, it's fine, I'll stay an hour later. Like, you can schedule them at 4:00 or whatever. I'll just leave at 5, stuff like that. So I was like, oh, let me check with the acupuncturist, as far as changes to the schedules. But with the chiropractor, the creepy chiropractor, he would want me, he didn't want me to have any control over his schedule, not really, but he wanted me to act like I had control over his schedule. That way, if the patients got upset or angry, they would be mad at me instead of being mad at him. So he wanted me to take the hits for him, which I think is really shitty. So I explained all that to the lady chiropractors, the women, and they were actually horrified, and they were acting horrified at how kind of like uptight he was, and how he was really controlling over how I talked in a way that was creepy, because I know how to talk because I'm an adult. And even then I was like, oh, well, maybe I should talk like this. And the two women were like, no, he doesn't have he's not allowed to have that much control over you. Like, they were getting upset. And then, but then the lady chiropractor, who I do think is a misogynist, she's like, you have such a sweet, pretty face. She would tell me I was beautiful a lot, which was very, it's nice to hear that. But she's like, you have such a sweet, innocent, pretty face. That's why he's really mean and controlling to you. That's what she said to me. She blamed my face. I can laugh about this now because it's 2022. The reason he's creepy and weird to me and says all the weird jokes, it's because of my face. That's not how it works. The reason why he's creepy and weird is because he engages in behavior that's creepy and weird. That's it. You know, and there's probably a diagnosis there. I'm not a psychologist, but there's probably, you could probably diagnose with a thing, the creepy chiropractor. Okay. So they're kind of on my side, and I was like, you know, can he just talk to me less? And I was like, can't we, this is where I was being so naive. It's like, can't we explain to him what the clinic policies are so that he can know what the policies are and he knows how to follow them? Because his rules would just change so much, and they're different than the women's rules. And they're like, yeah, so we have the meeting and it's fine. And then here's what I did, and that's okay. Like in hindsight, I was just trying to protect myself. So I write this like HR document, like, because I had a job where I wrote HR documents. That was literally my job. So I wrote this HR document where I wrote HR document. Oh, so I write like, hey, these are our company policies, basically. And so, and this is me being very naive, and that's okay. So I come up with this company HR document where it's like, oh, companies, policies, and procedures. And I write some stuff down. I write some things out, and I like, and I send it to the two women. I was like, hey, here's like an example of a company policies and procedures, and you could, like, I was like, is there a diplomatic way to get the creepy chiropractor to be less weird? And to be honest, there's probably a diagnosis there, so I don't know. He could just change his behavior, you know what I mean? It would take a lot of work for him to not be insecure. But if I was his life coach, I could give him tips on how to be more confident, or feel more confident. Okay. But I come up with this HR document where, you know, it's policies and procedures, and it's just trying to give some structure so that so that he'll leave me alone a little. But you know, and in hindsight, I'm just trying to protect myself from his weirdness. But in the document, it was a little aggressive. In the document, I said like stuff like, we're not going to lie to the patients. Oh, right. Because he'd want me to lie to the patients in different ways. And I said, you know, here's what I said that was really aggressive, but it's okay. I was just trying to protect myself from a creepy dude. So I said, you know, doctors aren't allowed to like train the receptionists unless they've like worked there for about a year or something like that. I was just basically trying to get it where I didn't have to talk to him at all, you know. And in the context of a really shitty, horrible chiropractic clinic, which is what I consider this clinic, it's kind of hard because I don't know, whatever. So I come up with the HR document. It is a little like aggressive. Here's the thing. I shouldn't have to do that. They should already have a company policies and procedures manual that explains that, you know, hey, you can't say weird jokes about people's ethnicities. You can't really do these little weird side jokes. Like, they should explain, like, all conversations should be respectful. Like, stuff like that. Basically, like, something that can explain to him how to be a human being. Something that explains to him what appropriate behavior at work is, because it's like him saying all the little weird jokes to me about them is highly inappropriate. It's just so weird. So is there a diplomatic way to get this guy, like, basically it's what you learn on Sesame Street. If you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. There's no reason for him to have to keep talking and stuff like that. Anyway, so I come up with this HR document and I send it to the women, and I send it to them on a Wednesday night, and then on a Thursday, it's me and the creepy chiropractor in the clinic, and then the lady chiropractor, she comes in, she's like, hey, Julie, la la la. And she's like, I saw your HR document. Like, I thought it was really good. Like, yeah, it was so good. And then she goes into the back room and she talks to the creepy chiropractor. And I don't know what they're saying, but she's talking to him. And then he walks out and he looks really angry and upset. And then he looks at me, he walks by and he looks at me like I'm this horrible person. Okay. And then I don't really understand what's happening, but this guy's always angry. So I'm like, okay, he's angry about something, but I don't know what. And then, okay, so then my last week working there, the lady chiropractor walks in, she looks at me and then she looks down and she looks very guilty. And then, but she doesn't say anything. And then the creepy chiropractor, he leaves me alone that last week. It was amazing. He just leaves me alone. I didn't have to look at him. I didn't have to talk to him. And I was able to make more phone calls that week as far as trying to get more patients in, because he wasn't talking to me every 5 minutes about weird stuff. Okay. So the last week I noticed the acupuncturist seems to be feeling really angry about something. And then the last week, and I'm so naive. The last week I worked there, I was like, hey, it worked. He's leaving me alone so that I can do my job. And then the acupuncturist, I remember too, one time, it was me and the acupuncturist, and we were alone, and she was like, she said something like, oh, what are you doing for dinner? And I was like, oh, I'm just gonna get la 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 la. I think she might have been hinting that we could have gotten dinner, but I don't know. Like, the acupuncturist was the most human. I still think she's a human being. I just wish she was more courageous. So, okay, it's my last day. I don't know it's my last day, but it's my last day. And the creepy guy's leaving me alone, which is really nice. And the two women, they're like, hey, Julie, and they have the little HR document I made. And they're like, hey, like, let's talk. So we go to the back room. And the lady chiropractor, she says, hey, here's the thing. I'm actually going to be selling my clinic to the creepy guy. And I was like, that sucks, because the creepy guy is a robot who only cares about money. He doesn't really care about healing people. He's kind of nice. He sort of has a nice side. If he leans into his nice side, like, everything's going to be okay. But I was like, oh, that sucks, because he's also so uptight, and I don't know, and he freaks out over Rolodexes, and then, like, at the time I really believed in what the clinic was doing, because it was basically healing people's pain, and that's what I want to do as a filmmaker, is like heal pain and teach empathy and entertain. The biggest thing I want to do is entertain. So I really believed in the mission. Oh, also, and I didn't agree with their marketing, because they have a very generic website, but since it is Michelle Pfeiffer lookalike or whatever, it's whatever, because there are like attractive women. I'm not trying to be weird, but it's just, I feel like if they just put a really nice headshot of the chiropractor and a really nice headshot of the acupuncturist and put that on the website, I feel like people would come in droves. In droves to get services. You know what I mean? Like, but anyway, I didn't think they were marketing. Like, I told the acupuncturist, like, you're sitting on a gold mine. Like, the acupuncturist was so good. I was like, like, if we're talking in money, you are sitting on a gold mine, as far as she was so good at what she did. This clinic could be way more profitable than it was, because the product was so good with the two women. But anyway, but the lady chiropractor, she had a lot of back pain, and her business is dying, and like, because of COVID. And so this creepy chiropractor, I don't think it was his money. Like, I think, cause he was so insecure. It's like most entrepreneurs I've met, they worked for their money, and because they work for their money, they tend to be a lot more confident. So that's where it's like, I don't think he earned his money. It seems like his mommy and daddy or relatives, they're going to buy him another clinic. And I was like, that's fine. And I looked up how much a clinic costs. It costs like $200,000. So I was like, I guess that's a decent amount of money. And if I got that kind of money, it would change my life. But also, again, it's the San Francisco Bay Area. I mean, $200,000 ain't shit in the Bay Area. And I know that makes me sound like an asshole because I'm middle class, so I make 5 figures a year. But still, that they sold me out for $200,000. If I make it as a filmmaker, I'm going to potentially be worth so much more than that. But they went with the creepy chiropractor. So the creepy guy, she's going to sell the clinic to the creepy guy. I was like, so that's why she's always kissing his ass. She was kissing his ass so much. The other part where I think she's a misogynist is because, like, she had 2 sons and, like, she would just... Okay, we'll get to it. Okay. She treated men like they were more important than women. A lot of cultures teach that. I'm from poor white people culture. It has its own misogyny as well. So a lot of cultures teach that. Okay. So she's like, yeah, I'm going to be selling the clinic to the creepy guy, and she's like, so she's such a coward. She's like, and she's a capitalist, basically. She's a sinister capitalist. So she's like, are you really going to be happy? Are you really going to... Y'all, she doesn't give no fucks about my happiness. She... it's sinister capitalism. I got hired to fill her schedule. And her schedule wasn't full, you know what I mean? 6 weeks later. And it was me versus a global pandemic and a creepy guy. Now the acupuncturist schedule was very full. Because her product was really good. But, she doesn't fucking care about my happiness. The other thing the lady chiropractor did, and this is rich people being assholes, is like the lady who had the job before I did, she was like a lady in her 60s, being a receptionist. And receptionist can be a fun job, but it's also kind of a pain in the ass shitty job. Like, you always have to be in a good mood and you don't really get a lot of breaks, and it's just very draining. So I was like... And then the doctors, they're all kind of assholes. So you're kind of being like a waitress all day for like shitty doctors. So I hate to talk myself out of getting any future receptionist jobs, but you're basically a waitress and it's 3 against 1 all day. It's not even 3 against 1. It's 3 doctors and all the patients. So it's like 100 versus 1 every day. But luckily all the patients were really nice. And the ladies overall were easy to work with. But the lady chiropractor, she's like, will you really be happy if you're working here? And I was like, I'm thinking, you don't fucking care if I'm happy working here. I just wasn't, filling her schedule. And I get that's how capitalism works. But, that creepy guy, like, he got in my way every step of the way from scheduling. You know what I mean? Like the example I gave. But this dude, oh, right. The other thing is, like, just the temper tantrums. It was hard to keep this guy's schedule full, but I should have made phone calls, but still, like, whatever. And I was like, she's like, will you be happy? And this is where I'm realizing, oh shit, I'm getting fired. I know it's being very naive because, like, capitalism. So they're not Buddhist. They're not, as far as religion goes, they're not into Judaism. They're just capitalists, sinister capitalists. So I was like, it's so naive. Oh, wait, I'm getting... this is when I realized, oh, shit, I'm getting fired. So, and I start lying. I was like, oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. And then I'm thinking unemployment and what am I going to do for money? But I had monies in savings. So, and I turned out being okay. But I was like, shit, I'm getting fired. I was like, oh, I'd be so happy. Like, it'd be so cool. I'd be so happy. And then the acupuncturist was like, oh, but that doesn't make any sense on what you said last week. And it's odd because when I had a meeting with the 2 women and I was complaining about the creepiness, but I didn't say everything, they were like on my side and they were getting like angry and they're like, no, I got to talk to him and la la la. But all of a sudden they flipped their switch. So basically, once the acupuncturist found out that the creepy guy was going to buy the clinic, now she's kissing his ass too. So they're both going to kiss his ass because they want the $200,000. So So it's all fake. It's all fake because it's sinister capitalism. So I'm like, serious? And then he's like, and so I'm like, oh my gosh, it would be so great if he owned the clinic. That's so cool. And clearly I'm lying because I'm getting fired. I'm very naive. And then the lady chiropractor she says, oh, well, he doesn't feel comfortable with you in the clinic. He doesn't feel comfortable with you in the clinic. And I was like, really? Like, why? Are you serious? And I was like, can I just sit down and talk to him? And this is again where I'm being naive because they're rich, they're capitalists, they don't give no fucks about me. I could get hit by a bus, they don't care. They want the $200,000. They are cunts. I'm sorry. And this guy is a fucking asshole. Okay. And they're doing this near Buddhist statues. It's offensive to Buddhism. They're doing this near symbols of Judaism. That's offensive to Judaism. Like, it's offensive to me. Okay. So I'm like, are you serious? He doesn't feel comfortable about me. That doesn't make any sense. And so I was like, can I talk to him? And the lady chiropractor is like, well, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think that's a good idea. And then she says something like, because she's a misogynist, she says something like, he's just sarcastic. All the men in my family are sarcastic. And I was like, okay, let me translate that. So, he's misogynist and all the men in your family are misogynist. I was like, or chauvinistic. It's like, okay, I got it. So again, she's a misogynist. So she hates herself. So the other thing she said, and he's strong, Julie. He's strong. That's the lady chiropractor said. And I got to tell you, that's what I wanted to say. Because she had 2 sons, and she would wait on her son's hand and foot. She would really kiss this dude's ass, and she, like, in a way that I thought was kind of degrading. But once I understood he's gonna buy the clinic, I was like, oh, she's kissing his ass to get that money, because she was really laying it on thick, like really laying it on thick. So, and I didn't get it, like, okay, but anyway, she was like kind of groveling, like, to this dude, like this weird little dude. Okay, and then yeah, so she's like, he's strong. The thing is, like, just want to say this, she does not treat men like they're strong. She, because she's always kissing their ass, she treats men like they're babies. And I just want to say this, like, you don't treat men like they're strong. You treat the acupuncturist like she's strong, because she actually is strong. You treat the creepy guy like a little prince. And like, but okay, whatever. If he's so strong, then why are you always kissing his ass to get his money? But so then so that's what she's a misogynist, basically, and she's a rich asshole. So then, but I was like, hey, can I just talk to him? Like, I don't, like, really, he's uncomfortable with me in the clinic. That doesn't make any sense, because I think we're all one big happy family. I'm being naive. Oh, and the other thing is, the acupuncturist gave me a book on morality, and the acupuncturist sincerely believes in morality, unless you're a shitty chiropractor. All of a sudden the rules change if you're a rich chiropractor. But the acupuncturist gave me a book on morality, which she set me up to fail, because I thought that meant the chiropractic place was a moral place. It's not. It's just capitalism, sinister capitalism. So I was like, hey, can I just talk to, like, seriously? Because I thought we were one big happy family, which is very, like, naive. They'd already made up their minds. I just didn't. They lied to me for 3 days. They're such shitty people and cowards. So the chiropractor comes in. Oh, and the 2 women leave because they're such cowards. So once again, I got to be alone with the chiropractor. And I was like, hey, like, what's up? Like, you don't feel comfortable with me in the clinic? Like, what? Seriously? And then he's like, yeah, well, she showed me that HR document you made. And I was like, what? And it was just like a rough draft, but like, yeah. And then he's like, and she told me that the lady chiropractor, she's like, and she told me that, like, you said Thursdays are your hardest day. this bitch, these bitches, including the dude, the biggest bitch in that clinic was that man. He was the biggest bitch. Okay, the biggest cunt. Okay, so yeah, and she told me that she told me that Thursdays are her hardest days, and I was like, shit. So she threw me under the bus. She stabbed me in the back. And that last week, she couldn't look me in the eye. She was ashamed of herself. She knew what she did. Here's what happened. I accidentally fucked with her money. She wants that man's money. And she doesn't care if he's shitty. She doesn't care if he's creepy. She doesn't care if he's a fucking robot. She doesn't fucking care. She wants his money. And I accidentally, fucked with her money. And she's rich, by the way. Her husband's rich. She lives in a rich part of, a rich part of San Francisco. And that's saying something because it's an expensive city. So she doesn't need the $200,000. It's not like she's never going to be homeless ever. I mean, knock on wood, but she doesn't really need the money, and whatever. But she is in physical pain. She has physical issues doing the work because it's a very physical job and her business is dying. So she's desperate. So she's going to sell the clinic to the creepy dude because he's got money. And man, was she kissing that dude's ass. And this guy was garbage. So I was like, whoa. So she threw me on the bus. She stabbed me in the back. Like it's Game of Thrones. She's like, fuck you, Julie. Fuck you. She wants this creepy dude's money. Okay. The other thing I want to say is that last day, this guy is such a psychopath. I'm not diagnosing him. I'm not qualified, but this guy is such a piece of shit because that day, the two women were acting weird. The lady chiropractor couldn't look me in the eye. She looked ashamed of herself, and she should be ashamed of herself. She knows what she did. She sold me out for that money. And by the way, if I make it as a filmmaker, I'm going to be worth so much more money than that. So much more money than that. Anyway, but whatever. Short-sighted. She was very short-sighted. So she couldn't look me in the eye. She was ashamed of herself. She should be ashamed of herself. All she had to do was diplomatically tell this weird dude to cut it out. Stop being weird. And he would have stopped. But whatever. But I fucked with her money. So that's what she was afraid of. That I'd chase him away and she doesn't get the $200,000 or however much money he's going to buy the clinic for. And then, but that day, and then the acupuncturist was kind of acting angry, and I was like, why is she angry? Because she didn't want me to go. And then, also she made some weird, she never mentioned us having dinner before, so she sort of threw out a lifeline about us having dinner, but I didn't quite catch it. And then, so the two women, because the two women are not assholes, the two women are cowards, but they're not assholes. But he's such a asshole, and he's a rich guy, and he can blame all this shit on a middle class person. So that day where they knew it was going to be my last day, they lied to me for 3 days. That day, the two women were acting different because they're at least human beings. But he is such a fucking asshole. He was making jokes. He's such a garbage human being. He was making jokes. He couldn't care less because he doesn't care about poor people. So and luckily I had money in my savings, but he's a fucking robot. So he doesn't care if I'm gonna have a place to live, I'm fine, but you know what I mean? He doesn't care that he's such a horrible person. So he doesn't care at all about how I'm gonna get money. And luckily I was fine financially, but still, I had a new job in a week or two for lawyers. God was telling me something. I went from that shitty clinic to working with lawyers where I learned what my rights were really fucking quick. But okay, so that day where I got fired, he was telling jokes. He's like, look how empty my schedule was. But I gotta tell you, this motherfucker got in my way of keeping his schedule full every fucking step of the way. Because he's rich and unaware, he gets to be as shitty as he wants to be, and he gets to blame all his fucking problems on me, the receptionist who makes $19 an hour, which is a good wage, but he's such a fucking piece of garbage. Sorry. So he's making jokes, he's cutting jokes, and the day I get fired versus the two women, they actually look like they feel bad. They're still cowards, but that's how much of a robot he is. He's making jokes, because like if I had to fire somebody, if I thought they quote unquote deserved it, I'd still feel bad, because I'm like a human being, you know what I mean? Like it wouldn't feel good to fire someone, even if I felt like I had to do it, you know? But this guy's so he's cutting jokes, he's making jokes. The other thing that happened that day is, like the chiropractor really wanted to get treated by the acupuncturist because he had like a weird thing for her. And one time he was like, you should tell her that we should treat each other, you know, as far as giving each other acupuncturist versus chiropractic services. And I remember like, I didn't bring it up, but I was like thinking, I was like, why can't you do that? Like, why do you need me to connect you guys? But that last day, the day I got fired, they finally like, you know, gave each other treatments, chiropractic services and acupuncture services. So he gave chiropractic services. He gave chiropractic services, and the acupuncturist, was really laying it on thick. So she's like, oh my gosh, I feel so balanced. I can't believe. So she's like really kissing his ass like a lot. And I was like, that's weird, because that's the first time I'd worked there for 6 weeks that it was just weird. It was new. She usually kind of kept her distance, but now she was like really kissing his ass. And then she treated him, and like she's so good at her job, she got a robot to feel emotions, because he came out of the treatment and I saw vulnerability. Like he looked like he was high as a kite, because she's really good at giving acupuncture. So she got a weirdo to feel an authentic emotion, which is pretty profound. Okay, so, but that day, like, she was, like, really, and then, like, he said, hey, like, we're gonna get drinks after this, right? And so, that's what I overheard. And I remember hearing that, and I was like, oh, they're going out. So here's what they did. They fired me, and then they went out for drinks. And the two women, they know that's fucked up, but they want this dude's money. They want his $200,000. So they know what they're doing. They understand how sinister capitalism works. This guy is such a fucking weirdo. Like, he's getting hustled. Like, here's what this situation is weird. The only reason they're kissing his ass is to get his money. I want to make that clear. So there's no integrity. The only reason they're kissing his ass is to get his money. But he doesn't understand. Like, it's funny because he's rich, but I don't think he earned his money. I think his relatives gave him money to buy a clinic. But he's naive about how sinister capitalism works, because he got what he wanted. He got like the validation from the hot ladies, but it's fake. Because if he didn't have no money, they wouldn't give no fucks. So he got what he wanted. Now they're kissing his ass, and they're thinking he's the coolest guy ever, because they're hustling him and they want his money. And that shit is weird, and it's sad. And so yeah, so they fired me, and then they went out for drinks, because I hurt his feelings, because I wanted him to stop being shitty and creepy to me. I don't know. It's a weird situation. It's hard to explain, but the way they spun it, like, oh, the receptionist who makes $19 an hour is being mean to the chiropractor. It's such a weird spin, but really what it is the two women are kissing his ass to get his money. And he's walking around thinking, oh, they like me. They really, really like me. And it's like, they don't. And with the creepy guy, like, he's lonely. But I gotta tell you, if you want to make friends, you have to be nice. there's a reason why he's lonely. To make friends, you need to be a nice person. You know, you can't always be this smug little bitch. But so anyway, yeah, he got the validation, but he's literally so they're literally like by having, I don't know, they're really selling their bodies with the chiropractor. You know, oh God, it's just so weird. So they're kissing his ass. They're selling their bodies as far as the chiropractic services. It's all so fake. They're just kissing his ass to get his money, and he's thinking it's like a real, authentic relationship. So it's weird and sad, and I'm glad I'm not a part of it anymore, but they sure did fuck me over. And it's a hard thing to explain, and I don't know. So the thing is, I was right. So if I would have told them all the creepy stuff as it was happening, they just would have fired me immediately, because he's a man and he's rich. So because he's rich and he's a man, he gets to be as shitty and stupid and horrible as he wants to be because he's rich. Yeah, so it's a fucked up situation. Okay, I'm glad I don't work there anymore. I'm glad I tried to protect myself. I wish those women were more courageous. I wish they were better at marketing. Oh well, that guy, the creepy guy, maybe 10 years from now, he'll be a better person, but he doesn't really do the self-reflection thing. So when the acupuncturist was giving out books, she likes to give out this book on morality. She was like, hey, do you want this book on morality? He was like, no. Of course he doesn't. All he cares about is money. He's like, why don't you tell me your favorite passage? Because he's fake. Like, he pretends to be a person. That's what's kind of odd too. Like, whatever. So, and she reads a passage and he's like, wow, that's so amazing. But you never can know if anything he's saying or doing is authentic and real because he's so fake all the time. Okay, the last card cut off, but yeah, like, I guess I wish the chiropractor was a nice guy who cared about the well-being of his patients and he didn't get weird around women. I wish the women were more altruistic and better at marketing, and then I could have kept the job, but that's not where God wanted me. Like, God didn't want me around a weird dude and two women who are kind of cowards. Anyway, I talked to my friends, and that's why I ended up talking to a lawyer. But it's not worth the case, because if you watch the whole thing, like, you know, it's just sort of weird behavior. It's, you know what I mean? I don't even know if I had a case and whatever. So, but this dude was weird, and I wish he hadn't have been weird and creepy, but he is. And I don't like that guy, and I don't like what the women did. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to say is the conclusion. I don't like how rich people can throw people away so easily. The crassness of it really blows me away. When I make it as a filmmaker, I'm probably going to make it. I want to treat people with kindness and empathy, and I want to be good to people. I don't want to be so desperate for money that I don't ever want to be like that lady chiropractor. That was sad and desperate, what I saw. Very sad and desperate. Like, I don't ever want to be like her. And I wish the acupuncturist was a little more courageous. Okay, so my last step in all of this, of what I just said, is be courageous and have integrity. The idea behind happy-go-lucky capitalism is that you can make money and still be an ethical person. And so yeah, be courageous and have integrity. I don't want you to be like any of these three people. I want you to stand by your principles. So yeah, and you know, maybe the ladies thought I was freaking out over nothing. I don't think they're that stupid. I didn't tell them the extent of the creepiness, because I was being naive. But the fact that they could throw me away so easily, is mind-boggling to me, but they really wanted that guy's money, so. Okay, so I want you to be courageous and have integrity. I think where the paradigm is shifting is, in general, is this sinister capitalism thing. I think fucks over a lot of people. And it turns people into robots. It turns chiropractors into creepy, weird robots. And you should care about the well-being of your patients if you're going to go into healthcare. And also, there's one thing he said, it just popped into my brain. He said he worked for a chiropractic clinic, and I do think this is horrible, where they would color code their patients based on what their insurance paid. And based on the color codes, they would prioritize the patients whose insurance companies paid more over the patients whose insurance companies paid less. And I want to say, I understand how capitalism works, sinister capitalism, but when it comes to healthcare, I do think that's fucked up. So the people whose insurance paid more money, got more care than the people's insurance that didn't pay as much money. I think it's just so robotic and kind of evil. And I know you got to stay in business, but like I said with the creepy guy, it just didn't really seem like money wasn't an object to him. I do think that's fucked up, like color coding the insurances based on who pays more and who pays less when it comes to healthcare. I don't think healthcare should be a luxury item. Like, I'm okay with Lamborghinis and diamonds being luxury items because, yeah, I'm totally fine with that. Or Louis Vuitton, just not healthcare. I think empathy is the best way to go. So I was watching Star Trek. It was a Star Trek movie. It's the one where Jean-Luc Picard has like a clone played by Tom Hardy. I forget what it's called, but it's like the last movie for Star Trek, The Next Generation cast. And in that movie, there's a different movie, but it's one of the Next Generation movies, but it's Star Trek, and the Star Trek is Jean-Luc Picard. He goes back in time to the 21st century. He meets a woman, and he takes her on to the Enterprise, the big fancy ship, and she goes, "Wow, this thing must have cost you all a fortune." And he says, "Oh, we actually have no concept of money in the 24th century." And she's like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, we no longer make it a priority for the individual to accumulate as much wealth as possible. The system is now that everyone collectively does their best to enhance humanity." That's really beautiful. That's beautiful. I don't know how we get there, but that's really, really beautiful. That we all just work together to enhance humanity, where we don't have to make such desperate decisions. So to me, the lady chiropractor was acting very desperate. And is she rich? She's already rich, but it sucks to watch your business die. So, okay, so anyway, yeah, I wish the chiropractor had been a nice guy, but God didn't want me in that clinic anymore. It's good that I stood up for myself. Now I don't have to be around a creepy guy anymore. Unfortunately, the two women have to be around the creepy dudes. That creepy guy, they do have to get stuck in a clinic with the creepy guy. That totally sucks. But it is what it is. They made their choice, so it's 3 assholes together in one clinic. Maybe one day they'll evolve and learn how to not be shitty or whatever. Okay, so anyway, that's what happened, and I want you to be courageous and have integrity if you're watching this, because I think what the new paradigm is that you can be profitable, you can still earn a living and still make the world a better place at the same time. And so so just always engage in respectful behavior, and it's and when you're around hot ladies, relax, you're fine. Don't be weird. Okay, so it's 2022. I can laugh about this a little, but it was so fucked up. I was so naive. Okay, but I'm okay. I work at a better place. I haven't had to be around work with any creepy dudes since that experience. And I think it's better to be kind than to be weird and creepy. So keep being kind, everybody. Okay, so that was my experience with the creepy chiropractor. I'm Julie, writer and director of the indie nerdy comedy Geekless Punk. You can check out my website, www.juliecursestudios.com. And now I can go back to happy stuff, but I wanted to tell. So if you think anything terrible or weird has happened to you, call a lawyer. That's what I did. Trust your instincts and be courageous and have integrity. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a really great day. I will talk to you later, and I'm Julie. Okay, bye.